I don't say this often. I actually do say that often. Probably more often than a 40-year-old middle-aged man should. Am I middle-aged? I feel I am actually, according to the national average lifespan of a United States American male, I'm actually older than middle-aged now.
Yeah, you're past. Your prime is done.
Yeah. I'm on the back nine now. I'm not just on the back nine, like I'm finishing up 10. I'm about to make the cart path to 11 very shortly.
Wow, am I on 17? I mean, with your analogy?
No, I'd say you're teeing off 16 right now.
Wow.
Just again, utilizing the average lifespan of the American male, the only first world country in which it's declining. That's another story for another time. The average American lifespan of a male right now, I believe, is 77, just shy of 77.
So if I'm on 16, that means just over the hill, pun intended. I could see 18. That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can, if we were playing a round of golf, Lonzo, this would be the point where I would tell you to get on the phone and call in our 19th hole order to the Clubhouse Bar and Grill. Go ahead and call them now, because if you put the food in now, it'll be warm when we step off the green at 18 and ready to go. That's where you are. I'm teeing off 11, I think, or maybe putting 10, but somewhere in that ballpark. A little behind you, not that far. All right, I can probably see you, a couple of greens over, is all I'm saying. But I am probably accelerating my pace of play, something the PGA Tour should take into consideration. I am accelerating my pace of play because I have to tell you, I shan't, I won't be the guy that calls in because I stayed up too late the night before, because that's my own choice, my own decision, and I have to live with the consequences of it. However, what a friggin' ball game between Arkansas and Texas Tech we got that ended in overtime at 12:37 this morning, and I watched every bounce of the basketball, man. What a contest. Arky's got the Red Raiders dead to rights with 10 to play, and then Texas Tech comes storming back, forces the OT. First overtime in the tournament. Forces overtime, scores a bucket with 7 seconds left to play. Arkansas brings it the length of the floor. They have the opportunity. The Red Raiders lock down the defense. Step back jumper comes up just shy. Texas Tech moves on over Arkansas into the Sweet 16. They will take on the mighty Gators of Florida, who got a win last night over Maryland, 87-71. Up in the top right quadrant, the East bracket, we have the 1 and the 2. Duke and Alabama both getting wins last night. The Blue Devils 193 in a game that wasn't that close over Arizona. Alabama put 113 points on the board last night to BYU's 88 to advance to the Sweet 16 opposite the Blue Devils. Y'all, I started the night sitting on the couch, the wife and I sitting on the couch. She got home from work. We were going to do our Thursday Winehouse date that we ordinarily do. And she had herself a day yesterday. She had to run around and do some family stuff and some bookkeeping and whatnot. So she gets home and she goes, hey, is it okay if we skip go out date night, have at home date night? And I said, mama wants, mama gets. Absolutely not a problem. I said, tell you what, we'll stay home. We've watched 4 of 6 episodes of Daredevil Reborn. We'll watch the final 2 episodes because I've got a hockey game tonight. She leaves for New York City bright and early Saturday morning. So last night was like our last night to spend together. She's out of town Saturday till Thursday, the Thursday night or Friday morning. And so last night was our last night to spend together, right? And so the plan was we were going to do a Winehouse date. We were going to go get some ice cream afterwards. Just be cute. We were just going to be cutie patooties last night. She says, I'd like to not go out. Can we just do an at-home date? I said, absolutely. I said, we'll watch some Daredevil. She goes, no, I know it's a big sports day. It's opening day in baseball. She came home. I was watching the Braves game. She said, I know it's baseball day. I know there's some basketball games tonight. We can stay home and watch basketball and baseball. And I was like, I love you. That sounds wonderful. Because I was being selfish. I was being a selfish lover. I said, yeah, that's for sure. And so she sat on the couch. We were watching some baseball. Started watching, a couple of the games that were going on in the 7 o'clock time slot. The Sweet 16 starts up. Now I've got every TV in the house going with every game I can get on. I got a handful of baseball games. I got the early 2 basketball games. And we're watching Florida, Maryland. And she's like, I really want to go to bed. I was like, yeah, okay, word. I'll go with you. You know, I thought that was my why don't you come to bed moment. She's like, I really want to go to bed. And I was like, okay, let's go to bed. And she goes, no, I'm not going to bed. And I said, oh. And then it was kind of like a mix between surprise and disappointment, you know? It's like, yeah, oh, why not? And she goes, these are really fun basketball games. I said, what makes you say that? She said, Alabama's good at shooting. Yeah. She got into that game because the Alabama Crimson Tide were like a Cody Rhodes pyrotechnic display from 3 last night. Just setting the strings on fire. They shot 51 threes, a tournament record attempted. They made 25 of them, a tournament record made. 49% from the arc. They had about 6 that coulda, shoulda, woulda gone in, but got grabbed off the board, off the rim, and it could have been closer to like 28, 29. Individually, Aiden Holloway came off the bench, 6 of 13 from 3. Mark Sears, 10 of 16 from 3. Chris Youngblood, 5 of 11 from 3. Aiden Sherrill, 2 of 2 from 3. This team was just lighting the strings up. And my wife, who likes basketball, we were down at when we were down in New Orleans a couple of weekends ago. We went to a Pelicans-Pistons game at the Blender. And we sat up in the upper deck. There were like a bunch of us. So we're like, let's just all get tickets upper deck, go watch some NBA basketball. And she was into it. She was into it. She's like, Zion Williamson's pretty good. I thought you said he was hurt all the time. He's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, all right. Astute analysis. Thank you, madam. Like she enjoyed it. So, but she's not a huge basketball guy, right? Like she likes it. She likes it mainly because I love it. So, and she's a good wife. So she's like into my, if I'm watching basketball, she'll sit down and watch basketball. She's like, this is fun. I'm like, yeah, no, I know. It's the best. This is the best. Then when Alabama was done cooking BYU, Florida, Maryland was on. And she's like, is this game going to be as good? I was like, I don't know. Let's find out. Started watching that. Maryland making a little push. Derek Queen trying to be a guy, but Florida owned the glass last night. They had, 42 rebounds. They allowed only 20. I mean, cleaned the glass last night. And so it wasn't quite as exciting, although Florida's offense is also absolutely electric. And she's like, oh, it's good. I'm like, I know. She's like, is there more? I said, yes, 2 more games coming up. Duke and Arizona. This was at like 9:45, 9:50. I was like, Duke and Arizona. And she goes, when do they tip off? And I said, 10:05. And she said, I like this a lot. I'm not doing that. And she went to bed. She went to bed.
You know who else should have?
Me.
Yes.
I should have. And for the record,
the puzzle this morning was amazing.
I don't think it was that bad.
Oh, it was bad, including, one score, the score of one team, but not the score of the team they beat. There was
only 1 point total matters. Who needs both scores?
Yeah, there was a lot of looking things up.
I went into the bedroom, right? Because she said, "Hey, I'm going to bed. You gonna come lay down?" She didn't do that part. I added that part. She didn't do that part. I was like, "Yes, ma'am." So I went in there and I laid down, and she was doing her. She's got her bedtime prep routine. She's got her process she's got to do to get ready. Whereas my process is remove pants, enter blankets. So I laid down, and I'm like, and then she lays down, and head hit pillow, and she was out like a light. Like just that, like she has that superpower. I don't know if you know anybody like this, but that superpower where head hits pillow and consciousness no longer exists. Head hits pillow and it's just over. They're just asleep. I don't have that. I am a 30 to 45 minutes to fall asleep guy. I've tried everything. Okay? Don't hit me on the text line with your suggestion. Oh, Rob, did you try some warm milk? Try some milk and magnesium? Did you try some relaxing spa music? I've tried it all.
Have you tried reading?
I've tried everything, bud. I've tried everything. I'm a 30 to 45 minutes to fall asleep guy. There's nothing I can do about it. I have tried everything that I can do. And before any of you say, Rob, take a puff of the hippie lettuce before you lay down, Rob Brown went to college. I've done it. All right? I can't anymore. I've done it. Like, it is what it is. It ain't my bag anymore. That didn't work then. Can't imagine it would work now.
He wouldn't do it now because it's not legal in the state of South Carolina, and he would never do it.
That's exactly why, and no other reasons. She was snoring before her head hit the pillow. I'm like, all right, let me go in the bro cave. I was like, I'll watch the first half. I watched the first half of Duke, Arizona. So I was watching Duke, Arizona. I got them on one TV. I got Texas Tech and Arkansas on the other. And Duke and Arizona are just slugging it out in the first half. Slugging it out. Cooper Flagg's doing Cooper Flag things. Arizona ties it up with a handful of seconds left to play in the first half. Then Duke goes on this run, take a lead, move on. I'm like, what is happening here? And then that goes to the halftime. And I'm like, all right, I'll turn my attention over to Arkansas, Texas Tech, because the Hogs, who we talked about yesterday, I said, is this a Cinderella story? On one hand, out of the Southeastern Conference, the best basketball conference individual year in the history of college basketball. On the other hand, a 10 seed, nobody expected to be here, and they had the Raiders down a dime at that point. I'm like, all right, well, I'll watch this one till halftime. And I'm watching that one till halftime. Great contest. Arkansas, just like every time the Red Raiders go on a run, Arky slaps the floor, figures it out, goes on their own run, keeps the lead hovering. 8, 10, 12, 10, 8, 12, 10, 8. Just back and forth. That one goes to the half. I'm like, all right, bedtime. And I get up, remove pants, go to get comfy, and right when I do, the Duke game's back on, and they're like, Cooper Flag for 3, bang, splash, whatever was getting said last night. I'm like, oh, damn, Duke's on a run. All right, I'll watch a couple more minutes. I ended up watching the end of the Duke game. At that point, there's like 4.5 minutes left in the Arkansas-Texas Tech game. I'm like, well, I might as well finish this. Might as well finish this one. That one then goes to overtime as the Red Raiders are just throwing haymakers down the stretch. It ends up in overtime. And at that point, you're pot committed, right? Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to watch 40 minutes of this game, and then I'm going to go to sleep when there's 5 left? No. I'll stay up and watch the overtime. And here they go. Back and forth, right hook, uppercut, jab, bang, bang, bang. And the next thing you know, there's 40 seconds left. The Red Raiders have the basketball. They drive down the floor. 7 seconds left. Leaner, glass, swish, good. Then we go back the other direction. Here comes Arkansas. Drive the ball, get it in the hands of the best player. Step back jumper for the win. No good. Texas Tech wins. And I'm like, damn, that was good. So I stand up and I turn off the TVs. And I go in the bedroom, and I lay down in the bed, and I pull the blanket up nice and tight. And the wife said, are you just coming to bed? And I was like, yeah, I had to finish the games. And she says, oh, you're going to be an angry boy tomorrow. And I said, why? Those games were great. And she goes, because you have to be awake in 2.5 hours. And I looked over at the big light-up clock on the nightstand next to the bed, and then I looked back at her, and I said, I have made a mistake. And she was already back asleep by the time that I said that, which is, again, beyond impressive. Beyond impressive.
You're also annoyed by it.
So annoyed by it. But I do want to make this point. To those of you, including, I think I can call him now, off-air friend Bradley Evans, host of BetMGM tonight, big college basketball guy, who has had this take a couple of times in the past week. To those of you that have said that this tournament is boring, you are wrong with a capital R. I mean, flat out wrong. Last night, we had 4 basketball games. A couple of them were very good. A couple of them were blowouts. The ones that were very good were phenomenal back and forth contest. The ones that were not good were 2 teams that were just unbelievable. Like, I had so much fun watching basketball last night that I was mere microseconds away from sending the 12:38 a.m. lie via text message to Lonzo and the boss going, hey, guys, I might have eaten something bad because I'm not feeling too hot. That's obviously the only reason that I am awake at 12:38 a.m. and no others. So, unfortunately, I'm out tomorrow. But, number one, I ain't that guy. Okay? Number one, I ain't that guy. And number two, even if I was that guy, you think I wasn't coming in to talk about those 4 games last night? You think I wasn't coming in to talk about those 4 sporting contests that took place yesterday? No chance I'm missing that, man. No chance. No chance. That was one of the, and we haven't even talked about Chicago knocking down 49-footers from the opposite side of the half-court line to beat the Lakers despite LeBron and Luka looking like Braun and Luka again. We haven't even touched the NBA yet. We haven't even touched the NHL yet, which was phenomenal last night. We haven't touched anything. There were 4 games last night that dictated my entire mood, and I loved every second of it. And we haven't even gotten to the rest of the stuff yet. But don't worry, kids, because it's 6:17 in the morning. We have 3 hours and 43 minutes on a Friday to rock and roll and get to everything. There's nothing I like more, real quick before we go to the break, there's nothing I like more than being able to reach across the aisle to somebody that you disagree with and shake their hand and say, you know what, we might disagree on a lot. You might even not like me as a person. But at least we have found this. Dewey said, don't feel bad, Rob. I get disappointed every night, too. For the record, I don't get disappointed every night. My wife's awesome. The problem is basketball wore her out last night. And so I stayed up till 12:38 a.m. watching more of it. But Dewey, I feel you, dog. I feel you. All right, we got a lot we got to get to on the radio program today. As we mentioned, baseball underway. The Braves lose their opening day contest. I'm not going to do it, Lonzo. Don't worry. I'm not going to do it. I said 3 weeks. I'm doing everything. It's everything I have. Not to put. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. I picked a scab on my arm last night. And it's not bleeding, but it itches. And it's annoying. It's just my first world complaint that I have today.
Maybe it's psoriasis.
I actually have a friend who has that, like, real bad. It's not. No.
Yeah, I've had it and still have it in places. So, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, yeah. You are getting older. That was so wrong.
Well, more bodily functions in the news this morning. The next time you pass gas, make sure no police are around. A man in West Virginia faces assault charges after police say he passed gas and handed the officer. I mean, don't laugh. After the man was already arrested for DUI, according to police report from St. Cruz. I can't even get through this.
He passed the gas so loudly, the officer said it was, quote, very odorous and created...
This is old. I remember doing a story about this.
Will you send that to me anyway?
Yeah.
Please.
See, that wasn't even right. To put that story in there was wrong. That was wrong, man.
I could see it when I was looking through the script.
My work wake-up time is 5. JB, I'm not going to lie, I was in at 5:20 this morning. That's the latest I've gotten here in a long time.
Very odorous.
I slept the late, and one of my great joys in life is a long, hot shower, and I take one every morning. It's the best way to start my day, just a long, hot shower. I didn't even get that this morning. It was like in, wash the hair, get out. Like, I didn't even get the water time to get super hot. It was lukewarm. It is Friday. You're right. You're right. And it feels great. Feels great to have all of you with us on a Friday.
Yeah, I'm just I'm preparing to do whatever I need to for that fourth hour when it hits you and you become unintelligible. So, you know.
I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am great. I'm spectacular. I'm fantastic. I feel amazing. I slept in today until the time that I'm normally here, is what I did this morning. So, I mean, it really wasn't more than like an hour less of sleep than I ordinarily get. It's about the same. But, again, if you didn't watch those basketball games last night, and I know some of you are DVR sports, watch them back the next day, guys. I respect and commend that.
Some of us are responsible. Some of us know our own body. Some of us know that we have to do a job where we should probably be coherent. But, that's some of us.
My body's fine.
Did you just Hulk Hogan pose?
No, that's the Mr. Olympia pose. Like, Hogan did it, but it's not his pose.
Yeah, I think more people.
There's older pictures of, like, young Arnold doing that pose.
I think more people know it as the Hogan pose.
The Hogan pose would be like the multi-flex versus the Mr. Olympia, like, shoulder.
Were you
flex.
actually flexing? I couldn't tell.
All right, you don't have to be a jerk. You don't have
it's because I'm
have to be rude.
Dude, because I'm looking at the little screen. You can't. It's not. I mean, it's a very small screen.
216, by the way. Thank you very much. I am now lighter than I was for the wedding.
Good
Thank
for
you very much. I really should go to the gym, though. I really should.
You'll look like Ariana Grande before no time. I mean, it'll be awesome.
How did you make it worse? You made it worse. It's unnecessary.
Well, there is an unhealthy amount of weight that you could lose. And
that's also true.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot to get to. Let's keep going with these college basketball games from last night because, like I said, they were fun. They were fun. We'll start with Alabama. University of Alabama Crimson Tide 113-88 winners over the Cougars of BYU last night. Richie Saunders for BYU, 25 points. The Cougs had 4 players in their starting 5 in double digits last night. The problem was they got, 15 bench points last night. It wasn't so much that the Cougs had a problem. It wasn't so much that the Cougs were necessarily bad, quite the opposite. I wasn't ready, Kevin Harlan. I wasn't ready. It was more that the Crimson Tide were a bunch of snipers.
Tournament record. Sears has it tied. This is for the record for himself. Mark Sears. Three-pointer number 9. Sears leaves it up top. Morris saves it, gets it back. Sears number.
Well, this is the kind of night it is. The alley-oop didn't work.
but because they had numbers in transition, Amori did a
Yeah, well, I didn't cut that clip up as well as I'd hoped that I would. The point here is that Bama last night was a menace to society. Now, I got good news. I got bad news. The good news is that I picked Alabama in the Sweet 16. I got the East bracket correct. I have Duke and Alabama in this round. I have Duke going over Alabama, and I'm going to tell you, I actually feel good about that pick despite what Alabama did last night. And we're going to talk about Duke, Arizona here in just a few moments as well. Yesterday on the show, I talked about the fact that one of the things that I look for, and this is obviously more of a gambling / analyst take than this is a, solid basketball take. But one of the things that I look for is teams that get a scare. Talked about this yesterday. I said I'm honestly not worried about the Florida Gators at all. They got a scare. They're going to be fine. I said I was a little worried that Arkansas, that Duke might get a bit of a scare because they haven't had one yet. And every team is going to have some close games in the regular season. But there's a difference between having a close game in the regular season where you look up and you go, all right, we got a few more, and we got this, and we got conference tournaments. Like, a close game that you end up losing in the regular season isn't going to ruin your season unless you're losing all of them. A close game in the tournament, to me, can change the mentality of a basketball team entirely. Alabama had a scare against Robert Morris in round 1. All of a sudden, the next 2 games, Alabama become monsters. The problem is that if you are a team that is lifting 66 shots in a game, there's going to be games where the shots don't fall. Bama shot 53% from the floor on 66 shots from the floor last night, 25 of 51 from the arc. That is the most 3 points attempted and the most 3 points converted in an NCAA basketball tournament game ever. The record dated back to, I believe, Loyola Marymount back in 1991. To tell you how impressive that record is, it has stood since 1991. I was 6 years old when it happened. I am now 40. So, something impressive there. But here's the thing. Every team, even the best shooting teams, are going to have an off night. And you usually aren't going to go 2, 3, 4, 5 games consecutively having an off night. Without having an off night. There's one coming. And the Duke Blue Devils showed us against Arizona last night. And this is a team, by the way, this is a team that I picked all the way to the national championship game, the Duke Blue Devils, but also said on this show, I'm not super confident about it. I'm not really that confident in Duke. And this team has won me over. Alabama already had me won over. I was won over on Alabama when they beat Auburn in the final game of the regular season. I was like, all right, this team's championship caliber. Depends on the bracket pool they get. Well, they get Duke in the Elite Eight. And when I looked at that going into it, I was like, I'm going to take Duke, and I'm going to take Duke just because I think Duke has a little bit more physical presence, a little bit more size. And if the shots aren't falling for one team and the other, Duke takes advantage of that. If Duke's shots aren't falling, what do? They slow the game down. Yesterday, we got asked about the trapezoid of excellence. It's like my favorite thing to look at coming into the tournament, the trapezoid of excellence. And I pointed out that there are 2 factors, 2 numbers that go into the graph of the trapezoid of excellence. And if you look at the trapezoid of excellence, there's like 9 teams inside of it. And I think, 8 of them made the Sweet 16 or 7 of them made the Sweet 16? Like, it's a pretty good indicator. Alabama was not in the trapezoid of excellence. The 2 numbers that go into it are your net rating. That is your level of success with a ratio of the quality of opponent that you played. How well did you do, and against how good of a set of teams did you do it? And pace of play is the second number. When you x-axis pace of play and y-axis net rating, your success level versus the quality of schedule that you built, you fall somewhere in this chart. And if you're inside that trapezoid of excellence, you got a good shot at being a national championship contender. Alabama's not in the trapezoid of excellence, but it's not because their net rating isn't good enough. Quite the opposite. Their net rating was better than a handful of other Sweet 16 teams, including a couple that are moving on. The reason Alabama wasn't in the trapezoid of excellence is because pace of play is an indicator of postseason success in and of itself. Teams that are to the extreme with a pace of play that is a rabbit with its tail on fire or a pace of play that is a turtle on Benadryl, either extreme are not teams that traditionally make it to the Final Four in the national championship game. And there's a reason for that. If you play a very high pace of play, like Alabama does, they want to turn it into a track meet, sprint up and down the floor. They want to get 66 field goal attempts in a game. At some point, your shots don't fall. At some point, you're struggling shooting the ball. Well, what happens if you lift 66 field goal attempts, but instead of shooting 53%, you shoot 39 or 40%? Now, instead of making 35 out of 66, you make 27, 28 out of 66, and the other team picks up 7, 8, 9, 10 additional possessions off of your misses. And those are the types of games where you go, this team gets into a track meet, and all of a sudden you find out that they're down 4 with 2 minutes. Why? Not because the other team is necessarily doing something special. It's because the other team is grabbing some extra possessions, and if they are converting with high efficiency shots, by getting the ball down into the paint, by putting it up off the glass, up off the window, getting high percentage shots, they take advantage. Duke does that better than anybody else. Duke does that better than anybody else, and that's why I think Duke is likely on out of the Elite Eight to the Final Four. I love Alabama. That's the most fun college basketball team to watch this year. There is not a team in college ball more fun to watch than the Crimson Tide this year, and it was true last night too. They were the most fun team to watch. But that frantic, high-paced pace of play eventually is going to come with a shooting night that's not 53%, but it's 38%. And if that comes against Duke, which they've now strung 2 great offensive games together, if they have a letdown against Duke, they're getting beat by 20. So we'll see. We're going to talk about the other games on the bracket. Florida knocks off Maryland. Texas Tech escapes Arkansas and more. Talking college shooty hoops this morning on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. It's my pleasure. That's what I'm here for. Quite literally, that's what I'm here for. I just appreciate people recognizing the sacrifice.
No one likes a kiss-up king. Except for probably the person being kissed up to. They probably enjoy that. Your Final Four still intact?
Yes. My Final Four is no. Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan
But
State.
my national championship, obviously.
Michigan State hasn't played yet.
Michigan State lost to.
No, Michigan did.
No, Michigan State. No, you're right. Okay, no, yes, my Final Four is intact still. I have Auburn, Michigan State, Nope, Duke. What am I doing? I have Florida, Auburn, Duke, and Purdue. So Purdue tonight. If Purdue wins tonight, and Auburn wins tonight, then my Final Four is still intact. At this point, if your Final Four if you're still good with all 4 teams in the Final Four, you can still win this thing no matter where you are.
So here's my Final Four. It's going to sound familiar. Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Purdue.
Oh, nice. Okay. So so you and me are riding and dying together.
So all that stuff that you did,
Yeah.
and I did it in 3 minutes. I'm just saying.
It's okay.
But we have different winners. I have Duke winning it all. So, by the way, tied with Diesel. So technically, they've taken the lead.
Because Cole's ahead of me.
Yes.
Where is he? Is he like 22?
He's like 19, I think.
Okay, so he's ahead of me, but like not like he's like a couple.
Well,
points.
tonight could change it.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like you're at a point now where
It could also make it worse for us.
The result of any given individual game can skyrocket you or tank you. Lonzo and I were talking about the wire-to-wire / fan upstate bracket challenge during the break there. We are at the point of the tournament where any given individual game can move you up or down 8, 9, 10 positions in the bracket challenge right now. Rob Brown has fallen to T29, which is good enough to still be technically on the first page. Okay, I just want to clear T29 because there's a lot of T's on the board. I do have a couple. There are a couple of things that are very interesting about the bracket competition. Number one, Smithhead 67's Picks 1 is our new bracket leader in sole possession of first place right now with 700 points. Charlie's Busted bracket is unbusted as they have 670 points. But I would also point out that all of these, of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brackets, 7 brackets, 6 of them, 5 of them, numbers are hard, have the Florida Gators as your national champions. They could very well miss 2, 3, 4 games tonight and go tumbling right back to the bottom. Wherever you are right now is likely nowhere close to where you're going to end up. I would like to point out one more thing, because I've come to the conclusion, and for those of you that don't know me personally or have not followed the show for any length of time, I want to tell you a little something about myself, and then I'll tell you why I'm telling you something about myself. I do not believe in curses or blessings or luck or any of that. Jinxes, I don't believe in any of it, okay? There's no evidence to prove that these things are real. And so, I find it very special that this show does indeed have magical powers. Let me tell you about it. Lonzo and I have told you many times we have the power of the Rob Brown Show bump. You come on this show, you do an interview with the great one and I, good things happen for you. We have had professional wrestlers that have sat in that chair, talked into that microphone, left, and won championships within a week. We have had professional wrestlers who were already champions sit in this chair, do an interview, and then go on to have historic reigns. Friend of the show, Gunther. We have had professional athletes come into this studio or join us on the live stream and do an interview on the show and go on and win championships. We got a list of them. There's also the opposite side of that. The Rob Brown Show curse is real too. If I say something happens on the air, this is what's going to happen on the air. Sometimes it doesn't. We have been working on an interview for you guys. I'm never saying the name until I'm not saying the name again until we're just talking about football. Which, fingers crossed, hopefully we'll be joined by Rashad Beard this afternoon or this morning, late this morning. I'll let you know. But the Rob Brown Show curse is real. There was, for those of you that will go back a week, you will remember that a week ago today, there was a bit of controversy, a bit of conspiracy on this show. The controversy, the conspiracy, was that we started last Friday's show after the first half of the first round with Rob Brown opening Friday morning's show, T2 on the bracket after going, 14-2 on the first day? And then 1 hour later, I opened the bracket challenge again to give you guys a leaderboard update, and all of a sudden, Rob Brown was T3, a bracket that was not there at the beginning of the competition, suddenly was not just in the competition, but was number 1 in the leaderboard. And I said on the air, I was like, yo, wait a minute. What is this? I was T2 an hour ago. Now I'm T3, not just T3. But there is now a bracket in sole possession of first that, if I recall correctly, was 15-1, and then went on Friday, and I don't believe missed a single game or missed like one game on day 2 as well. Was way up at the top of the bracket. And I talked about it on the air, and during the course of the show, the bracket's name changed. It changed to like Cry Liberob Tears or something like that. It was a direct shot at me. And that's fine. That's fine. A little smack talk goes a long way. Well, yesterday, 2 things happened. Number 1, we found out that bracket belongs to Steven, who, at the time, maintained a captaincy in the Armada. Well, Steven, who has not shown up in the chat yet, we'll see if he does. Steven, much like Brian, has now had his captaincy temporarily rescinded from the Armada because yesterday I got a tweet from P1 Kane, who is on the stream with us every single day. And P1 Kane said, Rob, we have another turncoat in our midst. And I said, pardon me? And he pointed out that the bracket going into the Sweet 16 yesterday, great one, that was a TRBS bracket, was a Rob Brown show bracket. All of the sudden, the bracket's name changed to Heel Turn Tolo. Steven decided, for whatever reason, and he may have the opportunity to explain himself if he so wishes, Steven decided at some point during the day yesterday that he was going to change his bracket away from a TRBS bracket, from a bracket representing the Armada, and turn it into a Tolo bracket and have the audacity of call it the Heel Turn Tolo bracket. Lonzo, would you like to guess what happened just mere minutes after Steven decided to rename his bracket away from the TRBS and to the Tolos? Don't worry, I'll tell you. He has come tumbling down the leaderboard, is now T9, lost his stranglehold, which was like a 30-point clearance, lost his stranglehold at the top of the leaderboard, switched his affiliation from the Rob Brown show to the Tolos, from the Armada to the Tolo, and immediately on that day came tumbling down the leaderboard. Do you see what happens when you abandon the Armada? Not great things. Not great things. So a young man who owned the leaderboard, who was he had been, if you'll pardon the expression, from day 1, game 1, to yesterday afternoon when he changed his name. He was wire-to-wire leader in our bracket competition. And the second he changed from Cry Liberob Tears TRBS to Heel Turn Tolo, immediately came tumbling right back down the leaderboard. Lonzo, I'm just saying the best things in wrestling are when the heels get their comeuppance. We like when the story ends with the bad guy taking a beat down. There's a lot of basketball left, but I don't think it's coincidental that Steven changed his name, became a Tolo, called his own heel turn, and then is falling like a rock down the leaderboard.
Steven has done a lot of nice stuff for us.
He has.
So I'm not going to be disparaging towards Steven. I'm just not. The curse may very well be true though. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have did that.
I mean, did it to himself.
If you turn heel, you're probably going to have to deal with what comes with it.
Yeah. Listen, you got every right. You got every right to make a heel turn. Every right to make a heel turn. Just understand, just know that if you do, sometimes the faces get back at you. Sometimes the faces get back at you. Sometimes the faces get their comeuppance. We'll see. Heel turn Tolo does have Duke as his national champion, winning over Tennessee in the Final Four. He's got Florida over on the other side of the bracket, knocking off Michigan State in the Final Four. So again, a lot of basketball left to be played, and we are at a point now. We are at a point now where any individual game can begin to move you up or down multiple spots on the leaderboard. Every game, every round is worth the same amount of points. Every round's worth the same amount of points. So the games, because there are a few of them in every round, become infinitely more valuable. Right now, Smithhead 67 is atop the leaderboard. He has a maximum possible 1,820 points available. That is if he calls every game correctly and Florida wins the Natty. Charlie's busted bracket tied with I Got This TRBS in second. Brandon Lee is sole possession of fourth place. How about Joey B with the comeback for the ages? My man was like 45th after the opening round. Now all the way up T5 after last night. Good comeback there. JB Slam Dunk Tolo Jam is tied with Joey B. So is JL Forrest wire to wire. Won't win, but will catch fish. Brian Pettit Tolos and heel turn Tolo. Those two hanging out with each other appropriately. Cole Bryson. Shout out to CB. Cole Bryson, I thought, was in a world of hurt after the first two rounds. He was hanging out around T40 after the opening two rounds. He has come storming back. Now all the way up at T12, along with Brock, Florida taking it all, CJG, Chris Warren, TRBS, Buckeye Mike, TRBS, is T17 with play-by-play JB, Armada Elitist, TRBS, Jeremiah, TRBS, Tolo Yardbird, Sportertainment guy, Men in Black 46, Breeze 864, Drewtopia, Brooke TRBS, Tyler from Inman, E. Schultz, all T20, and then you bump up into the T29s, which is where you find Spartanburg J TRBS, Professor Lester TRBS, and of course, Ball Nowhere Rob Brown. And there's a handful of TRBSs right there in that mix. So like we're not out of it. But there's a lot of basketball left to go. A lot of basketball left to go. So we'll talk more about last night's Final Four contest. Florida, isn't it? Florida wiping the guy. You gotta tell you what I think right now today, based on what I saw last night. What I think is the most compelling national championship. If you said right now I could just pick my national champion, obviously the answer would be Auburn, so we win the bracket contest. But because I noticed a disproportionate number of TRBS brackets that have picked Auburn. And I don't know if that's because y'all heard me pick Auburn, you roll with me, or just because we all know ball and came to the same conclusion. I don't know. But disproportionate. So I pick Auburn. But if the bracket contest didn't matter, and you asked me today, what is the most compelling national championship? As much fun as I've had watching Alabama, I think they're the most entertaining basketball program in America right now. As much fun as I've had watching the University of Alabama play basketball, Florida v. Duke would be a blast. These two teams wiping the glass last night, playing physical inside basketball, lots of screen and rolls, lots of cuts to the inside. These two teams are two of the most balanced teams in America. They both rebound well. They both shoot well, but they prefer to get the ball down inside the paint and work inside out. These two teams, Alabama's electric. They're fun. Tom Izzo's team plays like a team that just loves to play basketball together. So I'm interested in Sparty today, too. I was very high on Sparty coming into this tournament. They are playing around. And by the way, I got a clip from Izzo I'm going to play for you later that I think explains why Michigan State's got this real good chemistry with itself. But I think Florida Duke could be a lot of fun because I think these are probably right now the two deepest teams. And I think a lot of people are giving them credit making it to the Elite Eight because of their depth, which is obviously a factor, obviously a variable. I don't think that the depth of Duke and Florida is why they are in the Elite Eight. It's a reason, but it ain't the reason. I think the reason Florida and Duke have both made it into the final or into the Elite Eight is because Florida and Duke are just made of Windex, man. They are cleaning the glass. Both of these teams last night, in my opinion, rebounded and second chanced opportunity their ways to dubs last night. Arizona played good basketball last night. Maryland played good basketball last night. Both of those teams had a couple of problems. Number one, when it came time for the twos to check in and square off with the twos, Duke and Florida were just better. They just had more depth coming off the bench. And second, they just owned the glass. Cooper Flagg was pulling down boards. I think he had 6 of them last night. Just about everybody on Florida's team was pulling down boards. They are unselfish rebounders. They see the ball go to the rim, they go to the rim. And I like that. I appreciate that. I will tell you right now, you young'uns out there, all right, listen to Uncle Rob here for just a minute. I'm about to help you out. If you want to play basketball at any level, if you want to make a team, maybe you're trying out for your middle school or your high school team, maybe you want to try to convert that into a college career, go play a little college ball, get that scholarly, get a free education, maybe make a little NIL money down the path. Rebound. Learn to rebound because coaches will go gaga for you. And that's what happened last night. Florida and Duke figured out how to crash the glass. And when Florida and Duke started to crash the glass, they won the game. Alabama out-rebounded BYU last night. Not a shock. Florida last night had 42 boards. They allowed Maryland 20. They took Derek Queen out of that game last night. Duke last night had 30 boards to Arizona's 27. They took them off the glass last night. Texas Tech, Arkansas, 51 rebounds for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. That won them the overtime game. Youngsters out there, listen to Uncle Rob, I Know Ball. If you want to have a career that does something, whether it's make a middle school team, high school team, maybe go to college, you want to make it to the show one day, if you learn how to rebound, you will win games for your team like the Red Raiders did last night on JT Toppin and Darian Williams, 9 boards apiece. That will win you basketball games. It happened last night 4 times. All right. We're going to talk more college basketball later on in the show. We'll give you a preview of tonight's 4 Sweet 16 games. We got to flip it over to the NFL. There's some movement happening, some movers and shakers. Still waiting on the Aaron Rodgers signing. If there's going to be one, I'm at the point where I think he just calls it, or at least for a part of the year. We'll get to that. The Atlanta Braves dropped their opening day game on the road at San Diego. I'm not pushing the panic button yet because I told you the Padres are going to be good. All that and more coming up. I'm getting there in Lonzo's Sports Flash.
It's not what I mean. I mean, I try to go away from the basketball to something we weren't talking about. Then you had to mention it in the last thing. So I mean, what's the point? As Rob talked about, the Atlanta Braves opened their season with a 7-4 loss at San Diego. Chris Sale, I'm just trying to do my job, man. Chris Sale surrendered 6 hits and 3 earned runs through 5 innings, but Hector Neris took a L, allowing 3 hits and 3 earned runs without recording an out. The NBA All-Star Game will be changing again. As Adam Silver said yesterday, the 4-team mini-tournament will not return next season. Gee, I wonder why. Silver said the intention was to spark competition, but that many players were not committed to the concept. Silver said the team is working with NBC, who will air the event next year, to develop a plan. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire, Cole Bryson and Diesel. Ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on all the latest local and national sports news. I'm not angry. I didn't mean to hit that. Oops. I didn't mean to hit that. I mean, because I don't make noise when you're on the air like that. It's like, oh, oops. It's too late.
I'm going to buy one of these Greenville, South Carolina Mountaineers baseball club jerseys. Do I want the 3/4 length, like, traditional baseball shirt or just a regular T-shirt?
Where are you wearing it?
I mean, it'll just be a show shirt, probably.
Okay, you probably should go for the T-shirt because it's always warm in here.
That's a good call.
Whichever one's the least warm.
Now, do I want it in, like, the lighter green or, like, the Triumph green? I think the dark green, right?
I like the dark green.
The dark green. That's what I need is more damn T-shirts. How often do you go through your T-shirt collection and get rid of stuff?
That's a hurtful question.
It's not meant to be because I have the same issue.
Yeah, I'm in need of doing that. You notice my rotation is a little bit less right now because I put on weight. So then the question is, okay, do I donate these to Goodwill? Do I throw some of these away? Or do I put them in a bag and when I lose weight, bring them back out? Hard decisions. If I collect anything, it's T-shirts. So, I mean.
See, that's my problem too.
Yeah. But if I'm walking around a store and they've got an $8 T-shirt that I probably will wear once or twice,
Yep.
I'm buying that $8 T-shirt.
Jacob, you changed my mind. I'm going with a 3/4 sleeve.
Wow.
I know.
See whose opinion he values more.
No, I was already leaning that
Way
way.
to go,
Then you brought up
Jacob.
the Heat
I'm
thing, and
jealous.
like, yeah, but then I also it's a classic baseball, so I got to go like a classic baseball shirt. Like that's the baseball shirt. It's a 3/4 sleeve. All right, I ordered it. I'm going to tell you right now. There's a siesta in store for Rob Brown today. There's a nap in store for your boy, but I'm feeling good about the next 3 hours.
Let's go. We're going to go.
If we gonna go, we gonna go. We got your audio blitz coming up in an hour. We have got, what else we got coming up today? We got more fallout from the LeBron interview. Did you hear? I got out yesterday. I had to run home right after the show because I had to come back up here at noon to do some stuff. But I had to go let the dog out. So I left here right after the show, had to go home, hung out with the dog for like an hour at the house, and came back up here. Well, on the drive home, I was listening to Writer Than You with Bill Ryder, which airs right here on this very station.
You mean the LeBron hater?
Oh, man. Dude, I was shocked last night. Yesterday morning.
See, I'm not completely shocked by him because he's consistent with his hate, but the fact that people are taking sides and feel like they have to take sides in this, it's very interesting. There are some people who are just completely backing Stephen A, and other people are over on LeBron's side. I almost feel like this will work. I almost feel like it. I just almost do.
Well, I mean, that's not unusual for you, though.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I was listening to that, and here's the thing. We are in this business, and perhaps this is the reason I am not nationally syndicated. Maybe I just suck at the job. I don't know. But we are in this business often encouraged to take a side and like dig in, right? Have a take, dig in on it, fight for it. Yada, yada, yada. That's kind of the name of the game for the people who sign paychecks at a corporate level. They tell people like me, have an opinion, take a side. If there's 3 sides, take one of them. If there's 10 sides, take one of them. If there's 2 sides, take one of them. And then fight for that side. And it's not me. That's not me. And again, maybe that's why the Rob Brown Show isn't nationally syndicated yet. I'm working on it. But what I would say is the people who have taken a side, LeBron's side, or apparently everybody else with a microphone's side, they were outright calling homeboy a liar yesterday. Bill Ryder, I was listening on the way home, he said, I know Windhorst. I know him. Remember, LeBron said Wendy's a weird guy.
You know what? Doesn't he seem like he's probably a weird guy?
He kind of does.
Yeah, he just does.
Yeah, he kind of does a little bit. But he said, like, he's kind of a weird guy. And Bill Ryder said, I know Brian Windhorst. I've met him. We've covered games together a number of times. He said they do have a close relationship. LeBron is a liar. And I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like you can have a relationship with somebody that one side feels is more emotional than the other. You ever had that awkward position where, like, somebody calls you their best friend and you're like, you're a friend? You're one of my best friend. You know what I mean? Or, like, you ever been in that spot where you go out with somebody?
When I used to have friends, I definitely
Yeah, it probably happened all the time.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, it definitely happened to me many times. You ever been in that situation where you've been on a date with somebody and you're sitting there talking to them and you're love struck? And you're like, oh, this person's perfect. I could see myself long term with this person. And then in that same conversation, that person's like, just as an FYI, I'm seeing 2 or 3 other people. I'm going on a couple of other dates at the same time, trying to find my best match. And you're like, well, why don't you just punch me in the stones next time? That'd be easier. It's like that. Like, I don't know. I just like the whole thing was real weird to me. I got Stephen A saying, if that man would have put a hand on me, I'd have swung. Like, okay, bud. All right. I got Bill Ryder calling LeBron a liar. I got Dan Patrick saying that LeBron James insulted. And I like Dan. Dan's not this guy. But he said LeBron James, because of a take he had, I'm going to play it for you later on in the show. LeBron said that players of today could absolutely have played in the 70s and 80s. The old heads love to say, no handshake. And the guys said, hey, couldn't have played in the old days. LeBron's like, Giannis would have had 250 points a game if he played back in the day. And he was being sarcastic. But, like, yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo would have been a monster back in the day, for sure. And Dan Patrick's like, oh, he's insulting Kareem.
This is so
Relax, Dan.
So hypocritical by these guys because they make these comparisons all the time, and then a player does the same thing they're doing, and all of a sudden they have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like,
yeah, it's.
I heard people that I know for a fact have said in the past, oh, Giannis couldn't play back in the day, and it's like LeBron has the opposite opinion. They're like, what a jerk! Like,
you can't say that.
It was weird, man.
Well, he's not qualified to say that. A player can't say that, but all these guys can say it.
Yeah.
It's just, the reactions are very, very strange, but I think to a degree it's a defense of the media is defending the media, which of course I get that too. I do. They're defending. That's their paycheck.
But like defending who from what? Like defending Brian Windhorst?
Well, here's what they're trying. I believe they're trying to stop the tide that could happen. Because if LeBron's doing this, then everybody else starts doing this. And there's already been kind of a little bit of a backlash against sports media for the last, year or so. And it's something that's growing. And when you get one of the top names doing it and going after it, eventually it could lead to lost jobs.
Okay. You know what? I actually like that thought. And I actually am going to agree with you to some degree. I want to talk about, you know what? Here's what I want to do. I want to bring this conversation back up. Because I actually, in a weird way, I agree with you, but I think for maybe a different reason. So I want to bring this back up. Remind me to bring this up in the next segment because I do think it's an interesting topic to talk about. But it is 7:07 and 48 seconds, which means you have just a tick over 42 minutes to be up, dressed, have your breakfast, get in the car, take it on to work, sit down on the desk, get clocked in, get logged in, and then work tirelessly for 6 to 8 minutes until you walk down the hallway, head on down to the water cooler or the coffee machine or the vending machine or wherever it is that you spend your break and talk about sports with your coworkers. The two of them that you really like. And when you do, you need to know what's going on in the world of sports. And if you need to know what's going on in the world of sports, ladies and gentlemen, you need this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
Oh, no. Don't start.
they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this morning. When you do, this is what you will be talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to it. Item numero uno. Last night, the Sweet 16 got underway. The first half of the Sweet 16 got underway with a quadrant of games taking place. We will run through them very quickly, one at a time. We start with the University of Alabama, who lit the Nets in fuego yesterday evening, 113-88. Your final. Alabama set NCAA tournament records for three-point shots attempted, 51. Three-point shots made, 25. That includes Mark Sears, 16 three-pointers attempted. He knocked down 10 of them, one shy of tying the NCAA record for most three-pointers made in a single tournament game. Alabama's offense last night was just on fire up and down the floor. 66 attempted field goals last night. They knocked down 35. That's good for 53%, 49% flat from three-point last night. They also out-rebounded the Cougars 37-36. Here's my favorite number. Of their 35 field goals, kids, remember a few minutes ago when I told you to learn how to rebound? Let me give you one more number that matters. Of the 35 converted field goals for Alabama, 27 of them were attached to an assist. They knocked down 35 field goals. All but 8 of them came off of an assist. There were 8 baskets made by a team that scored 113 points last night. There were 8 unassisted baskets. If you're not a basketball guy, I don't know how to put that number into a way that is as impactful to you as it should be. 35 field goals, 27 of them attached to an assist. I'm sincere. Like, I'm usually pretty good, at least in my own head, at coming up with metaphors on the fly to kind of put a sports thing into a more like day-to-day, everyday kind of example. I can't do that right now. I cannot come up with something to explain how impressive it is that of 35 converted field goals, 27 were attached to an assist. That's an unreal number. Florida knocks off Maryland last night, 87-71. The Gators led by 2 at the half, but they were able to pull away late. That is the benefit of having depth off the bench, including Thomas Hawk, who had 32 minutes off the bench, 13 points scored from your starting five, 4 of them were in double digits scoring, including Will Richard, 6 of 9 from the floor for 15 points. Elijah Martin had 14 on 4 of 10. If you include the bench, the Florida Gators had 6 players score in double digits last night. That's a lot for a game of this magnitude. The Turtles did the best they could, 40.7% from the floor. They shot 6 of 19 from range. But we talked about rebounding. How about this number? 42 rebounds for Florida, 20 rebounds for Maryland. You want the recipe for a blowout? You want the recipe for a game where one team is able to rest, relax, take it easy, get a little R&R, clear the bench out at the end of a game? Go double up your opponent's rebound total. You will give yourself an opportunity to let your starters get some rest. Duke, 193 winners last night over the Arizona Wildcats. Cooper Flagg had 30. Concanubla had 20, 16 for Sion James. Last night, the Blue Devils shot 60% from the floor and 58% from range. 193 is your final. It makes sense when they shot, again, 60% from the floor and 58% from range. They held Arizona to 45.5% from the floor, 46.2% from range. Duke also had more made free throws, 23 of 27, than Arizona did, 21 of 23. Your rebound total, 30-27 in favor of the Blue Devils. And finally, Texas Tech knocks off the Arkansas Razorbacks. This one had to go to overtime. The Hogs were up 7 at the half, but they allowed the Red Raiders to get them in a little foul trouble late. They allowed the Red Raiders to out-rebound them down the stretch. They would win the rebound battle by 1, and also it was the closest game of the night. Texas Tech, 41% from the floor, 34. They lifted the ball up 83 times in this game. 83 field goals last night. Arkansas had 65. It was 10 turnovers for Arkansas that did them in and got them in trouble down the stretch. All right, we got to fly through the next 2. Let's get to item number 2. 7-4, your final last night. The Atlanta Braves. I will not put Atlanta Braves scores in every water cooler cheat sheet every time they play, but sometimes I will, like when they play opening day. On the road, take the L to the San Diego Padres. Yesterday, I gave you my list of NL contenders. And I said the Braves, if they cash a lottery ticket and everything goes right. If not, I put the Padres in that discussion. They knock off Atlanta yesterday, 7-4. Atlanta is 0-1, to start the year. Chris Sale threw 5 innings of 6-hit baseball, allowed 3 earned runs, K'd 7 in the effort, but the loss was tagged on to Hector Neris. He went 0.0 innings, surrendered 3 hits, 3 runs, all 3 earned, 0 Ks. Pulled from the game before he was able to record a single out. Atlanta gave themselves an opportunity in the top of the 9th. They had 2 on, 2 outs. They brought on Matt Olson, Marcelo Zuna, and Ozzie Albies. None of them able to drive in the 3 runs needed to tie that game up. Atlanta falls to 0-1 to start the season, and we wrap it up with item number 3. Item be honest, I don't know how deep I'm going to go on this story, mainly because I got to read through it and find out exactly what the hell is happening here. Former Tennessee football coach Jeremy Pruitt has filed a lawsuit against the NCAA seeking $100 million. The lawsuit claims that the NCAA conspired with Tennessee to make him a sacrificial lamb. That's a direct quote. Pruitt was fired for cause by Tennessee in January of 2021, received $0 of his $12.6 million buyout after an internal investigation revealed what Chancellor Donde Plowman said were serious violations of NCAA rules. On July 14th of 2023, the NCAA sentenced Pruitt to a 6-year show cause penalty, including a year-long suspension from coaching in games and recruiting off campus in his first year back, should he return to coaching at the college level. Pruitt has not coached in college football since. At least one other SEC school has shown interest in hiring Pruitt, but were dissuaded from doing so by superiors at their university and, according to Pruitt, by conference leaders in the SEC. In the lawsuit, which was filed yesterday in DeKalb County, Alabama, Pruitt alleges that Tennessee was paying players before he was hired in December of 2017, and that when he notified the athletic director, Phil Fulmer, of the illegal payments, Fulmer said he would handle it through the university's compliance department. Tennessee issued a response yesterday through a spokesperson that read, quote, "The university is confident in the actions taken in the Pruitt case. We will continue to prioritize our student athletes and winning with integrity," end quote. Now, it's not the first time that Pruitt has gone to the legal system. In 2021, about 9 months after his firing, an attorney representing Pruitt at the time, Michael Lyons, threatened a lawsuit against Tennessee if the university failed to reach a settlement with him by October 29th of that year. Lyons wrote a letter to UT's general counsel claiming Pruitt's lawsuit had the potential to, quote, "cripple UT's athletic program for years." However, the deadline passed and Pruitt never actually filed the lawsuit. He did file this one. So we'll see what happens with that. It's an interesting story as a coach has not just taken aim at a major uni, but is also saying, I can end your program with this lawsuit. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll talk more about it as we get more details. We have to run to a break when we come back here in just a minute. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the LeBron James interview, but there were 2 or 3 more clips that started making the rounds yesterday that honestly I didn't think were that big of a deal, but apparently they are. And Lonzo said something in the last segment that I'd like to get back to about why this is the hot topic as it is. I've got some thoughts. I'll give them to you next on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Did Eva Longoria just make a knockoff movie? What was that? What was that movie with Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston where the family was in the RV? Meet the Millers. Did she just make a Meet the Millers ripoff?
I thought she was in that.
Meet the Millers?
Yeah.
No, that was Jennifer Aniston.
I thought that she was. Oh, you said Eva.
Eva Longoria, who's on like a revenge tour right now. She's got her own TV show now where she eats food. I would like that kind of show.
Speaking of eating food, that's what I'm about to do. So we'll be back.
Took a softball to the knee last night because my wife had to prove that she still has it from when she used to pitch. Mind you, I used to be a corner outfielder, not a catcher. Oh, so you were catching pitches. I got to tell you, I played catcher very briefly in high school, which I'm like at this point because I didn't have like now the catchers have those big pads they put on the back of their calves so they can kind of like instead of kneeling, they're like sitting on those pads. I think that's part of the reason why my knees are so garbage. I spent like 3 years crouched down. I hated catching so much. Let me play right field. I played first base because I was tall, and I pitched because I was tall. Last night was John Calipari's first career tournament loss when he had a lead of 6 points or more at the half. And I only know that because with 6 minutes left to play in the half, they put up a graphic on the TV that said 35-0 career in NCAA tournament when leading by 6+ at the half. The curse of the announcer is real. It's very real.
By the way, I caught one game or one practice during softball during Cub Scouts.
That was the end of your catching days?
We had no mask. My nose is crooked right now because I got hit in the nose with it. We didn't know my nose was probably broken and it never got fixed, and we couldn't afford to fix it anyway. So catching is something I never want to ever do.
No, I hated catching. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. This LeBron James thing sat down for an hour with Pat McAfee a couple of days ago. And yesterday on the show, I played you the clips that jumped off the page at me, like the ones that I thought were most impactful, right? You had the response to Stephen A. Smith. You had a clip where he talked about, this Brian Windhorse character acting like we're totes BFFs and we're not. What a weird guy. Those were kind of the clips I thought. Now, there were some other ones that I'm like, okay, interesting conversation, but not necessarily one that I wanted to dedicate segments of the show to, partially because, they would have turned into all-day arguments that no one's going to change their mind on. I've told you in the past, there's a very short list of discussions that I will not entertain on this show. And it's not because I don't want to talk to y'all. It's because we've been arguing about Pete Rose for 20 years, and I know 0 people that have changed their mind. No matter what the argument from the other side has been, 0 people who have changed their mind. So the Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame conversation is banned from this show. It may be popping up soon again, as Rob Manfred said a couple of weeks ago, that he was considering a request from the family of Pete Rose to unbar him, which would allow him into the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose predicted before he died that he would get into the Hall of Fame, but it would happen after he died. We'll find out if he was right. I think, great one, I think I'm going to add another topic to the banned topic list. And I think the topic that I'm going to add to the banned topic list is, could today's NBA players play in the olden days? And could the NBA players of the olden days play in today's NBA?
So barbershop talk.
Effectively.
No barbershop talk.
I don't want to say no barbershop talk.
Because that's a barbershop topic.
I think there are some we can have, right? Like there are some that I think are conversations that are still, to me, fun to have. Could Steph Curry, is there a shooter in history that can match Steph Curry? Is there a ball handler in history that can match Pistol Pete Maravich? There are individual player discussions that I think I could probably be like, all right, I'll talk about this one guy. But the overall concept, I'm not willing to go for. And part of the reason why is even guys that I really like Dan Patrick, were all over this discussion yesterday. It's a bit of a longer clip, but I want to play it for a reason.
LeBron James was on full display yesterday on Pat McAfee, and he decides he's going to talk about how the players of today could play against the players of the 60s and 70s.
You're trying to tell me Giannis wouldn't be able to play an NBA game in the 70s? Neither would you. Giannis Antetokounmpo would have 250 points in a game in the 70s.
See, now you just disrespected Kareem and Dr. J and all the players who played in the 70s. I mean, why? Giannis would not be Giannis. If he was playing in the 70s, he'd be playing with his back to the basket. I mean, it wouldn't be shooting three. He wouldn't be who he is. He wouldn't develop the way he's developed. Is he getting 250? Well, Kareem didn't get 250. Are you telling me that Giannis would have been better than Kareem back in the 70s? And the answer is no. LeBron would dominate in the 70s. He would be a different player. Yes, he would be great. How would Larry Bird be today? He might be even better. He'd shoot more threes. Can't put your hand on him. It gets to be silly sometimes.
It seemed, though, like LeBron's point was comparing eras is stupid. We should stop doing it.
I agree with that, but what did he just do?
He seemed to be joking. Like, I don't think he literally meant he would score 250 points. I think he was joking.
I think he's saying that he would dominate. Now, the 250...
He would dominate.
Yeah.
He would dominate, though.
No, he would be a completely different player. The evolution of the basketball player has brought Giannis to us in this form. Back then, he would be a center with his back to the basket.
You don't think he could play like that?
No, he's not that kind of guy. He's a perimeter. He beats you off the dribble. Joker back in the 70s would have been a back to the basket, and he would have been able to play the way he does now.
I like Dan Patrick a lot. Always have. But this was, to me, almost an excruciating topic to listen to. Almost excruciating. Not because I disagree with Dan or disagree with LeBron. Honestly, I don't think it matters who I agree with. It was more along the lines of this is kind of the reason that I think I'm going to ban this topic from the Rob Brown Show. Because it's like you heard LeBron's argument, and he has a point. You heard Dan's argument, and he has a point. The reality is that who the hell knows the truth? There's no way to know.
And by the way, LeBron was joking. If you watch the entirety of it, they were just going back and forth, and he was messing around. I think people are picking this thing apart. But you're right. There's no way to prove this except in a video game. That's it.
And again, I'm down.
You can put in all the stats and everything. You can go uber nerd in this and make a simulator that would put that player in that thing and figure out. But that's as close as you're ever going to get.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's going to work because the reality is I don't know how to go back and find out the back down power of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and see if he'd be able to back up Giannis or vice versa. There's no way to know
it's
that.
It's an old person argument. It's always been an old person. Back in my day, things were better, and you soft young guys couldn't handle the thing that. Yeah, I'm
gonna call timeout on that because on fairness, and I know he's 40, but like LeBron is new era. And here's LeBron starting the conversation. Like, I think there are as many young Hoops fans that go, oh, Giannis would have scored 100 a game back in the day.
Did he start the conversation, though? Because I don't remember within the context of the interview if he was asked a question
I mean
or not.
The overall conversation we're having right now comes from the bar. I hear all the time. Like, I talk basketball. I'm going to say this. I don't think it's a bad thing. Primarily with, like, people my age, right? Because I primarily hang out with people my age. And I hear them all the time talk about, Giannis could have or LeBron would have. And there are some guys like, yes, I think LeBron would have been a dominant player back in the day, but Dan Patrick has the point of like, but they wouldn't have developed the same, right? They didn't have the nutrition and the fitness regiments that science has advanced over the past 3 decades to turn these guys into the freaks of freaking nature that they are now. Like guys like Kareem didn't even have off-season workouts. They just showed up a week before opening day and played. Blah, 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 blah. All that to the side, because that's not really the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is LeBron was getting cooked on Dan Patrick's show. Over on the other side, and I said this in the opening segment of the hour. I left here yesterday at about 10:05 to go home. I had to come back up here at noon for a couple of hours, so I left here. I had to go home and let the dogs out. I'm listening to Bill Ryder, and Ryder is straight up calling LeBron a liar. And so I was kind of like, oh, are we doing this today? Well, sure. We talked about it on this show, too. How could you not? It's the most infamous and recognizable basketball player of all time. Of all time. Globally. Of all time. Not best. Just most recognizable. And he's getting outright called a liar. And so then I went home, as I do very frequently. Like, I regularly listen to sports talk shows from around the country just to kind of see what the vibe is. I heard variations on that statement from 100 different hosts yesterday. That's an exaggeration, like Giannis scoring 250 a game. It's probably, legitimately, it probably was like 15 or 17 different hosts nationally. Because I go in the Odyssey app, and I just push in sports talk and start listening to stations whenever I find a local show. I probably heard 15 to 17 different hosts yesterday, everywhere from nationally syndicated down to people in Albuquerque, New Mexico, saying, oh, he's a liar, and he's this, and he's exaggerating, he's that. And don't get me wrong, I think LeBron James is a showman as much as I am. I would be lying to tell you that I don't sometimes get on the air and kind of like exaggerate stuff for the sake of making a point.
Come on now. That's not, I mean, come on.
That would be bad, I know. We're entertainers. Diesel and I had this conversation literally earlier this week. We are more than analysts, entertainers. And to me, the entertainment's in the analysis. That's why I'm more of an analyst than I think most local show hosts are, because that's where the entertainment value is for me. But we're showmen. LeBron's a showman. He's a basketball player, yeah. But why do we watch basketball? For the show, for the entertainment. He's a showman. And he's a guy that has figured out in his 21-year career that when he's done, he's built up so much notoriety by being this great basketball player that he can segue that into entertainment. Have you seen LeBron James act? He's shockingly good at it. But that's because he figured out, if I'm going to be an entertainer, I got to learn how to entertain. I think LeBron's entertaining. And people jumped all over it. Now, Lonzo made a point when we were talking about this back in the last segment. He said he thinks a lot of this is caused by the media defending the media. I'm going to take that one step further, Lonzo. I'm going to say it is caused by the traditional legacy media defending the traditional legacy media. Why? Because that is the longest exclusive individual sit-down interview that LeBron James, the most recognizable athlete probably on the planet that's not a soccer player,
Jealousy.
did his hour-long interview, the longest he's done since he decided to take his talents to South Beach, with Pat McAfee, which is not an orthodox show. It's not. It's a bunch of sleeveless, tank-topped bros in cowboy hats sitting around, goofing off, having a great time. And don't get me wrong, that's why I love it. That's why I love it. Because it's fun to me. Sports are meant to be fun. Those boys are just having a good time, and I love that. But I think the folks that do these studio shows where they sit behind desks with laptops and they try to be very serious about the basketball, like I think they're kind of bothered by the fact that I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm a basketball guy. I follow basketball media. I have listened to more former NBA podcasts because there's 100 of them. We play clips from them regularly. I've listened to more former NBAers talk about basketball than I have listened to ESPN or Fox NBA studio shows in a very long time. And I think the heat on LeBron is partially, I won't say exclusively. I think some people just don't like the guy for a variety of reasons. But Zoe, I think a lot of it has to do with the legacy media recognizing that the new age media, where it's like, we don't take this stuff seriously. We're just here to have a good time and talk ball. I think they feel a little bit threatened by the fact that their cash cow, LeBron James, was like, I'll go do McAfee before I go to Get Up.
Yeah, even some other people, some of those guys have said that. Why'd he go on that show and not this show? He chose to go on that show because it's a format that he knows, I believe, that he knows is growing, and it's one that he participates in. I mean, he's got a podcast. He does, and this was a podcast that is now a big deal and on ESPN, and that's a format that he enjoys. It's a more comfortable format, and I love that format better than the stodgy, well, when you were doing this, you were doing – it's just like, okay, dude, that's fine. You're into that. Other people aren't, and I loved the interview. Yeah, I did.
I enjoyed it. I went back and watched about 50 minutes of it, 45, 50 minutes of it last night, and I did enjoy it because I don't need everything. Hey, LeBron, so, you're getting this many points in this type of games against this type of defense. It's like, sure, that's interesting to me as a nerd, but, like, also, I kind of want to know what LeBron thinks about Giannis playing in the 60s. Even though I hate the conversation, I kind of want to know about it, you know?
And also, Wendy is weird.
And also, Wendy
he
is. I don't know if he's weird. I don't want to make that judgment call, but I could see LeBron being right, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying I could see it. Back after this, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. All right. Are you stepping away? I got to hit the restroom.
Yes.
Be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. Let me bring you guys into this discussion. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line is 844 FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. You can text that number. You can also call that number, 844-326-3663. I would love for you to be a part of the show. I enjoy every now and then asking y'all, the Armada, and asking y'all who maybe aren't fans, to genuinely give me your thoughts, your feedback. What do you like to hear? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to hear less of? Because at the end of the day, my job is to entertain you. And the easiest way for me to do that is to talk about the things that y'all like to talk about and to talk about them the way you like them talked about. That's not to say I always will, but that's kind of the job. So, I would like to bring you into this conversation. Lonzo and I have been butting heads on pretty much everything this week. There have been two things we've been in agreement on. Number one, if you pour the milk first and then the cereal into it, that's weird. The second thing we've agreed on, although maybe from different angles, we're both pointed in the same direction, is that a lot of the reaction to this LeBron James podcast that he did with Pat McAfee earlier this week is the media, the sports media. Is it fair, Lonzo? Is it fair to say that your viewpoint and mine are maybe closer to each other than we thought, of the traditional basketball media feeling to some degree threatened by the fact that not just a bunch of former players, but now current players and now the most notorious basketball player of all time, arguably, are eschewing joining the studio shows like traditional and are now starting to find their way onto what is called non-traditional media, and they feel a wee bit threatened by that.
Listen, of course they are concerned. We've had concerns in radio because of the trends and how they're going. And admittedly, when I leave here, I listen to podcasts. I love podcasts. I love people being, for the most part, people are being real. Some of it is confined because you got to have a little bit of structure. But these are, you see people and go, man, I wonder what he thinks about that. And you can actually listen to it because just about everyone has a podcast. And those guys definitely, I believe, are threatened because their way of life could be in danger. Will that stuff go completely away? I don't think so. When satellite radio came about, the people in the industry thought for sure we were done, that terrestrial radio was finished. And we're not. We've embraced digital. We've found ways, like the people watching this on stream right now, to adapt and embrace the new. And some of these guys got to get with it, or they're not going to be around.
Let me tell you a secret about this show. It's not a secret. You figured it out if you listened to it. This show, which I have told you since I got the job 5 years ago, this show is, was, remains, always will, intended to be fast-paced, fun, loose, energetic. Do you know why? There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I didn't always do shows that way. I used to do a more traditional sports talk radio show where Rob Brown would come in and he would talk more like this throughout the course of the show. But I don't do that anymore. Do you know why? It's because, I know, it's boring. About 6 or 7 years ago, a younger and more formidable Rob Brown was watching the growth of the non-traditional sports media. And I came to a realization. And the realization that I came to was that people are tuning in to authenticity and entertainment, not guys who just know ball. I did a show in Florida for a very long time on my old radio network that broadcasted from Mobile, Alabama to Tallahassee, Florida. I covered that whole range. And when I got there, there was a guy that was hosting a show who was a former college football coach by the name of Max Howell. Max was a super nice guy. He was this old guy who coached at Florida State. I think he was on Bobby Bowden's very first coaching staff. He was there for a couple of years, bounced around some SEC schools. Max Howell had a big-time following across the South. Coach Max Howell. And Max would come on and he would talk college football like this. But like with an old guy voice, you know? But like he would talk football. You know, if you really want to win, you got to get Jameis Winston over into space. If you can get him into space and he can find Kelvin Benjamin, that's a real Real dynamic threat there. And I watched when I started circa 2008. I watched Max at the very top of the radio landscape suddenly start to fall off. And when we would get our ratings books, his numbers started trending downwards. And I watched other shows start to pick up. Now, podcasts weren't a huge thing at this point. It was still terrestrial radio driven, but I started watching names like Feinbaum start to jump up. And I figured out at the time, it is because while people certainly do want coverage of their football, people want to be entertained more than they don't want you to come in every morning and go, well, John Parker Wilson is converting 73% of his passes against the zone, but only 62% of passes against man coverage. And so if I was Auburn this weekend, I would play a man coverage. Like, they want that, but they want to be entertained. They want you to be a person, to be somebody they're going to sit at a bar. I've told you the story before. My very first job, I went to my boss about 6 months into my first show, and I wanted to name my show the Barstool Sports Show, because my old host used to say, listening to this show's like sitting on a porch at grandma's house drinking some sweet iced tea and talking college football. College football. And I said, screw that. This show is going to be like sitting on a bar stool at 2 a.m. slamming whiskey and tequila and talking about sports. It's loud, it's fast, it's fun. And I wanted to be the Barstool Sports Show. And I got told no, that would never work. Congrats, Dave. So, with all of that being said, I think Lonzo brought up a very valid point, which is I listened to, and again, Bill Ryder. I know some people do and some people don't. I don't dislike Bill Ryder's show. Now, I think he kind of dials in on LA stuff, which doesn't necessarily always connect to us, but it does when he talks Dodgers and Lakers and whatnot. And I also think I think he has a very unique perspective on sports. He had a take yesterday on Major League Baseball that I want to get to a little bit later on in the show as well. That baseball has an incredible opportunity in front of itself right now, but it has to take advantage of it right now. It may surpass the NBA in the next few years. And I think that's an interesting take, and I want to talk about it. But I'm listening to him, and I'm listening to a bunch of local hosts and regionally syndicated hosts, et cetera, yesterday, all just slamming this guy. And I had the same thought Lonzo did, which is people that are traditional radio hosts, people that are traditional TV studio hosts, I think they're kind of feeling the pinch because new age media, new style, non-traditional media is taking over. So, genuine question to those of you that are listening right now. And you can text me your answer to the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. You can tweet me your answer at The Rob Brown Show. You can Facebook by going to The Rob Brown Show and leaving a comment there. You can email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I am intrigued by this. Of the sports media that you consume, what percentage of it would you consider traditional, and what percentage of it would you consider non-traditional or new age? How much traditional terrestrial radio do you consume, and how much podcast and YouTube shows do you consume? I'll give you a guy who I think has had immense success with this. How about Rashad Beard? There are fully dedicated traditional television shows in Charlotte, North Carolina that cover the Panthers and the Hornets exclusively. About 3-4 years ago, Rashad Beard propped up the Panther Nation podcast. It's a YouTube show. Rashad and Dave go on YouTube, and they just talk about the Panthers. And they say what they want to say, how they want to say it. They talk like grown-ups talk. Like it's non-traditional at all. And I have watched the Panther Nation podcast. In fact, I'm going to go, just because I'm curious, I'm going to go look at their subscriber count right now. But I know that in the handful of years, because when Rashad started on this show, he was just getting the PNP up and off the ground. Rashad has right now, great one, 23.8 thousand subscribers to his YouTube channel. That is a lot of people who follow Rashad and Dave on the PNP. Non-traditional coverage of the football team. I consider this show non-traditional. We are on a traditional format of terrestrial radio, of radio you plug into your car FM and listen. But to the chagrin of many a boss that I have worked for, I don't really follow the traditional radio format. I mean, I hit the ins and the outs. We do the teases and the segues, and these are all things that you even have to do on a podcast too. But as far as how I structure the show, I do a rundown every day, but it does not have times associated with it. Why? Because sometimes I go, yeah, I want to talk about that, and people are responding, and I'm having a good time. And sometimes Lonzo and I get lost in a fart joke, and it makes us laugh. And sometimes we get off because Alex's wife says she takes a bite of cereal and then pours the milk in her mouth, which, by the way, I got a response from her yesterday.
Found someone else who understands it like I understand it.
Is it your wife?
No.
Okay.
It's someone you know well, someone who we shared an office with.
Cap?
Said he understood it. Yes.
Understood or does?
He does
I mean,
not
understood
do.
is still shocking.
Well, I said understood yesterday, and you act like there's no one could understand it, and Chris also understood it.
Okay, we're going to circle back to that because I got a response from Mrs. Alex. Got
still,
a response.
I still think you were a little too
harsh?
Too aggressive on that.
Oh, she came after me. She came after me.
Good.
And we're going to get to that later. But the point here is sometimes we get off on that discussion. Y'all, and I mean this. Y'all sent me more text and tweets yesterday about the cereal and milk discussion than you did about sports. So I consider this radio show a non-traditional outfit. It is a podcast that happens to be broadcast on the radio, in my opinion. So my question mark here is, of the sports media that you consume, and I'm going to say, like College Game Day, that's traditional. Even though they've added Pat to the mix, and even though Pat has loosened up Nick Saban to be one of the funniest people on TV, it's a traditional format. 5 guys sitting around a desk talking about football. What percentage of sports media that you consume is traditional and non-traditional? Because Zoe and I have come to an agreement on the theory here that the reason people are all over LeBron James today is not because they really seriously agree or disagree with the takes LeBron had on Pat's show earlier this week. They look at it and they go, why is he doing it this way when he could have come on my show? Why he could have come in studio. He could have sat at the desk. He could have come in the studio and sat in that chair and talked into that microphone and put on headsets, and we could have gone to commercial breaks. Hey, guys, more with LeBron James right after this on 97.7.
Hey, Rob, last time he did it their way, the decision happened, and that didn't go well for him, did it?
Oh, yeah, correct. Which, by the way, okay, right? I get it. So I think I do think that Lonzo has a point. I think there are a lot of folks in the traditional media that are going to attack LeBron because not only is he just the most recent player to decide that he's going to lean into the new non-traditional media in order to communicate with the fans, but he did it on, I think, and I'll go one step further and then we run to a break. I think the show, with Pat McAfee getting paid more than just about everybody else at that network to do his show and do it his way and drop F-bombs on ESPN in the middle of the day, something that if you told me 2 years ago was going to be a regular occasion, I'd have said absolutely not, there's no damn way. Pat McAfee's making more than all those other studio people that were complaining. And so my thought is McAfee's show is the biggest bomb that has been dropped on traditional media in a very long time. It's the most non-traditional thing of all time. So I think there's some merit to that. All right, when we come back here in just a few minutes from now, we'll get some MLB. The Bravos dropped their opening day game against the Padres. We'll talk about that. We'll get into a little hockey because we're on Alex Ovechkin watch. We're playoff watching, all that and more after Lonzo tells you the most important sports news in the Sports Flash.
I am the voice of record, or whatever they say. The Alabama Crimson Tide punched their ticket to the Elite Eight with a 113-88 win. It's kind of a spanking over BYU. The Tide set a record for both three-pointers attempted and made, going 25 of 51 for 49%, including Aiden Holloway's 6 of 13 and Mark Sears' 10 of 16, one shy of the NCAA record for most threes in a game. The Duke Blue Devils knocked off Arizona 100-93 last night. Probable National Player of the Year Cooper Flagg finished with 30 points on 9 and 19 from the floor and added 6 boards, 7 assists, and 3 blocks, while Knuppel added 20, and Sion James had 16. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local national sports news. Great guests, great debate, whole lot of fun. Wire to Wire. Good morning, Shane. Pretty excited about it, Steven, except for they're not done. You know they're not done yet. They're going to be announcing more names eventually.
We have 27 so far.
Watched a bunch of videos of who they left out.
This is more than in-game. This is probably the first time that I'm like, that might be too many people. Like, some of them are dying, right? I know where that came from. Cole was on the stream one day, and he wore a camo shirt and a trucker hat. And I was like, dude, you look just like, I said on the stream, I'm like, dude, you look just like Luke Combs right now. So, for reference, oh no, it was a black fishing shirt. For reference, that's Luke Combs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's Luke Combs. And I was like, dude, you look just like Luke Combs. And Cole was all proud of it. He was like, yeah, that's country music superstar, blah, 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 blah. And he was going on and on about how proud he was. And he's like, Diesel, is Luke Combs an attractive man? Diesel went, no. Cole was like, oh. Oh, look who's here, Steven.
By the way, Cole will forever be Cameron Grimes to me. That's never going to change. Never going to change.
Fair too. He's Luke Combs to me. Heel turn Tolo is in the building this morning.
Rob takes this stuff too personal, Steven. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, it's been one of those weeks for him.
Heel turn Tolo.
He's got a lot of anger this week, you know? It's Friday. Let's let some of that go.
Now, see, I'm going to get it all out over the next 2 hours, so I'm clear for the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Well. Look who has decided to make his triumphant entrance to the chat. Back in the opening hour of the radio program, and those of you that have texted and tweeted me about the traditional v non-traditional media. I appreciate your input. I will be coming back to you here in just mere moments from right now. Back in the first hour of the show, Lonzo and I updated you on our bracket challenge currently underway. We updated you on our bracket challenge and told you that we've had some interesting developments after the first half of the Sweet 16 was wrapped up last night. We have 4 teams that have now made up half of the Elite Eight. Florida is in after knocking off Maryland. Texas Tech is in after taking down Arkansas. Duke is in after knocking off Arizona. And who's the other one that I'm missing right now? I'm doing this off the top of my head. And that other team that got in. Alabama. After they, yay.
Well, whatever. I was already losing again this week.
After they lit the nets on fire with 25 three-pointers last night. So we did a check-in on the bracket competition, the wire-to-wire bracket competition invaded by the Armada. And there's, like I said, a couple of interesting developments. One of those interesting developments, there's a few names that have skyrocketed up the leaderboard. Friend of the show, Joey B, has skyrocketed up the leaderboard. He was down in like 40th place after round 1. He is now T5. Just like that. Skyrocketed up the leaderboard. Cole Bryson was down in the 40s. He's now T9. Front page of the leaderboard. Rob Brown, after the first round, was T5. I'm now down T29. I have come a tumble in.
You're not on the first page. I know you tried, but you still, I mean, technically.
29th place has 2 first-page appearances, and I'm T29. I'm technically on the first page.
No, technically you're not on the first page.
If you just shuffle me to the first T29, I'd be on the front page.
Yeah, but they didn't do that.
So, there's been some interesting developments, but there was one more interesting than others. The one more interesting than others is thus. A week ago today, after the first half of the first round was done and we checked in on the leaderboard at 6 o'clock in the morning, Rob Brown was T2 with a 14-2 opening day. And out of nowhere, by 7 o'clock, another bracket had entered the competition and was sole possession of first place. Bumped me down to T3. Another bracket out of nowhere. And that bracket was named something TRBS. I don't remember what it was. And then I talked about it on the air. I said, we may have a conspiracy, a controversy brewing here. And while I was talking about it, that bracket name changed to Cry Liberob TRBS. And I accepted it because the first place bracket was still representing TRBS, the Rob Brown Show, in our invasion of the wire-to-wire bracket competition. So I accepted it. I said, I don't like it, but you're on my team. So we're gonna roll with it. Well, yesterday afternoon, I was checking out the wire-to-wire bracket competition when my phone pinged that I had a new tweet. The tweet came from P1 Kane, an Armada elitist. Self-titled, I'm going to allow it. And Kane said, Rob Brown, we have a traitor in our midst. And I said, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? And he attached a screenshot. And the bracket going into the Sweet 16 before the games tipped off last night, the bracket, which yesterday, Stephen Webb showed up in our chat, and after a week of mystery, revealed that it is his bracket. Now, Stephen's in our chat every single day. Oh, he said it was Calm Down Liberob, not Cry Liberob. That's right. That's right. Stephen showed up, a P1 of the show. He's in our Facebook chat every single day. Stephen showed up, took credit for that bracket that was at the top of the leaderboard. And yesterday, hours before the Sweet 16 tipped off, the name of that bracket changed from Calm Down Liberob, and then it turned into something else I don't remember. And I don't care. I'm bleaching it from my memory. It turned to Heel Turn Tolo. Steven, who's in our stream every day, he's in there right now listening. He's correcting me as he listens. Steven, a valued member, I would say, captain in the Armada, bestowed the title upon him because of his efforts in showing up every day and adding to the content, #team content.
And bacon donuts.
And sending us donuts regularly.
Which I never got to try.
Delightful. Delightful. Steven, after being such a valued member of the Armada, after earning his captaincy in the Armada, Steven yesterday changed the bracket name that was atop the leaderboard to Heel Turn Tolo. The most shocking heel turn since John Cena. The second most shocking heel turn since Hogan dropped the leg on the Macho Man and revealed himself as the third man. This is an all-time heel turn. But I would like to take it one step further and point out that Steven changed his name from TRBS to Heel Turn Tolo. And then what happened, Steven? Then what happened? In 4 games last night, immediately following the third most impactful heel turn in the history of this show. In 4 games, Heel Turn Tolo dropped from sole possession of first place to T9. Just like that. He turned on the Armada. He decided to come out, put the leg drop down across my throat to hit Lonzo in the back with the championship belt while the referee's back was turned, to put us down on the mat, and then to stand over us holding a belt he hasn't earned up tall. And he immediately dropped from first place all along, all the way down to T9, behind friend of the show, Joey B, who has come up to the top of the bracket inside the top 5. Just like that. I'm not saying that there's a Rob Brown bump, and now we know there's a Rob Brown curse. I'm just saying he went.
Weird how your guy is moving up. I mean, maybe Steven has a point here. Suddenly your guy is moving up. Joey B is moving up. Now I'm starting to think that there's something going on here. Some sort of manipulation, some sort of thing that's, I mean, you're a stats guy, you know guys who can do things with computers and stuff. I'm just saying, it just, I mean.
I have 2 questions for you, great one, and I really want you to take just a moment and think about what you've said. Number 1, are we on the same bleeping team or not? Because I've been led to believe we're presenting a unified front on behalf of TRBS, and now you're kicking my legs out from under me. You're Shawn Michaelsing my Marty Jannetty right now. I'm afraid there's a big plate window behind me right now.
There's like 3 right there.
Yeah.
I just, and they're double plated, so
are we on the same team or not?
Effort. For the most part, yes. Here's my thing.
That's what you want to hear out of your tag team partner?
No.
That's what you want to hear?
Here's the thing. As a man of the people, as a representative of the people, as the people's champ, I sometimes have to defend the people when you've been going at the people all week. And, you know, it's been, I've been concerned for the people, been concerned for you. And this is part of being the team. Sometimes this week, I didn't know who you were. And so it was a concern. And now you're going after Steve.
Because I wanted to win?
You've been getting rid of competencies right and left.
I have gotten rid of...
There's demotions going on here, and that's a sign of maybe some strain of leadership.
Quick question. Quick question. If you were in charge of a faction and one of the members came out one night wearing the T-shirt of a different faction, you wouldn't go, "Hey, pal, what are we doing here?" These are 2 individuals in Brian and Steven who have been long valued, long trusted, continuous contributors to hashtag team content here on the show that pop up every day. They're here now as members of the Armada that had captaincy bestowed upon them. And then the one time I have asked in the 5 years we've been doing the show, the one time that I have openly asked our listeners to represent the show, to represent us in a competition. I ask you to go out and spread the good word of the Rob Brown Show on the regular. Tell your friends about us. We want to get rich and famous. But one time in 5 years, I have said, you know what? I'd like to make a competition out of this thing, and I'd like TRBS to show the hell up. I'd like you guys to represent the show. You're all here. You're all members of the Armada. Let's represent. The one time, and 2 guys that I thought were not just in the faction, but they were like the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to my Ron Simmons, to my Farouk. They were my guys. They were the next gen. Wow. They were right there in my back pocket.
You going with that faction?
They were with me in the new nation of domination, and then
See, I thought we were all free birds, but know your area.
we're outrunners if we're being honest.
That's me and you for sure.
The one time I call upon thee to represent TRBS in the name of competition and to spread the good word that everyone here knows ball. Two guys who show up every day, who are value members. They are inside. They have inside information about the show. I was giving them picks coming into this thing, giving them thoughts to utilize the analysis, fill out that bracket. We get down to the last 4 rounds of the NCAA tournament, and all of a sudden, both of them turncoat on me. Both of them put on the big red jacket. Both of them turn heel and super kick me through a window. Both of them. Yes. I'm not saying that their captaincy in the Armada has been permanently revoked. I am saying it's absolutely rescinded until, at the very earliest, the last moment of one shining moment.
All right. I have to say, you mentioned about team. I have to say this, okay? When it comes down to it, I don't care if they win. I don't care if you win. I just want to win. And that's all I care about.
Okay, so I'm on my own. Good to know. Good to know.
There's no team in this.
Good to know.
There's no TRBS. There's no WTW unless there's a tie. There's none of that. It's one winner atop the leaderboard, one person who can say, hey, I beat all of you. That's all this is. There's no team in this. There's no, I'm not doing well, let's tag out. No, there's none of that. It's all every man for himself, battle royale, and sorry. If it's me and you in the ring, I'm going to try to throw you out. I don't care if we've won awards together. I don't care if it's been 4.5 years. I'm throwing you over the top so I can win.
Every year, this happens in the Royal Rumble. Every year, a pair of tag team partners find their way into the ring at the same time. There's a bunch of other people in there, and every year they work together for like 2 minutes, and then for some reason one eliminates the other while there's still other people in the ring. Here's a concept. Why don't the two of you work together as a tag team, because that's what you are, eliminate the other 38 guys, and then just go one-on-one for the way. That's fine. If you wanted to say, great one, if you wanted to say, hey, we're going to battle this thing out, and there's a little pride on the line betwixt the two hosts of the show, I'm 100% good with that. But between here and us being the two last man standing, I expected unification. I expect a united front on TRBS. And not only do I have Steven turning on me, I have Brian turning on me. Now I've got my own damn tag team partner kicking me in the chin, trying to launch me over the top rope while the battle royal's still happening. What is happening here? Why? This show is falling apart. I thought I built us all this nice little community where we were all one big family. We are family.
See,
I got all my sisters and me.
That's the thing. You said you thought you built, and it should be we built. And that's why you're going down.
Unbelievable. I thought we had something special here, but alas, I am learning that once again, I am on my own. Once again. No, I'm not. You know why I'm not? Because Joey B's up in here. Kane Armada Elitist is up in here. Keegan is up in here. I'm not alone. Those of us.
Is Keegan taking your side? I don't see.
He literally called for somebody to walk the plank earlier. Not only taking my side, but he's doing it in character. He's kayfabing this thing.
He also told me to hit you from the top rope. So I don't know if you may need to refresh there. That's all I'm saying.
There's a mutiny happening right now. Oh, and Shane. So my bad, Shane. My bad. Your comment wasn't on the stream. That's on me. Shane's here too. Shane is in the group. Shane's actively more than anybody else in the comments right now defending the Armada. I'm just saying. I thought that there was a special community around this show. I thought there was something special happening here. I thought we were going to be sailing the 7 seas to success all together, and it turns out there's a mutiny on board my own damn ship.
Listen, there is no parlay here. This is all about the booty. I mean,
Unbelievable. Thought we got to take a break. I got to take a break. I got to leave the room. I got to go out in the air conditioning and cool off.
By the way, that's probably the wrongest thing you've ever said, Joe.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll keep going with some Elite 8, Sweet 16 analysis. 4 games decided last night, 4 today to dictate who moves on and meets last night's 4 in the next stage. The Elite 8, we'll get to that. The Atlanta Braves drop a 7-4 roadie to open up the season yesterday. What went wrong? I got some thoughts because I watched so much baseball yesterday. We'll get into that. And, it's Friday, so whatever other shenanigans and tomfoolery that those of you that enjoy the show, like being part of this team, not are actively tossing verbal hand grenades into it, you get to decide what's next. Not you, Steven. Not you, Brian. You don't get to decide what's next. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I am also in disbelief, William. I thought we were doing something here.
You know, sometimes you look out and you see a shadow of something because the sun's behind us. I could have swore it was a pterodactyl. It was so big.
It's a ghost, same thing.
I know, it was. You would never do such a thing, Keegan. You know, it's amazing the things that just show up on your feed if you linger a little somewhere. And a lot of it, believe it or not, for me, is science stuff. Weird things that pop up. It's
An
like
influencer.
Yeah, but no, I was alive before you.
I take full credit for
Yeah, yeah. Oh, someone put rubber chickens on their bumper. That's very inventive.
You ever seen the videos of the guy who uses different sizes of rubber chickens and he plays songs? It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite kill time thing.
See, that's the thing. You linger on those things and you get like 10,000 of those.
That's just what you watch now.
And it's like,
that's just what you watch
chicken
now.
Alfredo bread.
Do you have to?
And yeah, I do linger on food sometimes. Sorry.
Have to let it linger. You know I'm such a fool for you. You got me wrapped around your finger. Do you have to let it linger? Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger?
The Avengers Doomsday Cast announcement earned 275 million views live.
I mean,
the biggest live stream ever for Marvel Studios.
Nice.
And all it was chairs. Well, Downey was there too at the end, but still.
Just about everybody I know was at least interested in it.
I looked at it for a little bit.
I did too, but it was taking so
no,
long.
we did.
Like,
we did. Yes,
day.
we did. We did it live on the air, if you remember, because it was trending.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Got a couple of texts that have come in that I want to read and respond to. Earlier in the show, Lonzo and I were talking about the fact that this LeBron James sit down with Pat McAfee from a few days ago. Yesterday was the biggest story in sports. And again, I want to make it clear. I very much understand that and understand why. It makes sense. The man is the most notorious and recognizable athlete, arguably, on the face of the planet. And if there's anybody bigger than him, they play soccer, the world's game. So when this guy sits down and does I was going to say unscripted, but I'm also going to keep it a buck. It probably wouldn't, right? Pat and the gang probably got, at the very least, like a list of guidelines you may and you may nots. Because that's how this works. Regularly, when we have guests on, one of the questions that, pro courtesy, you have to ask is there anything you don't, the way I ask it is there anything you don't want to talk about? I put it exclusively.
Tell me you did not just say that.
Which is what they're trying to avoid. Is that. So I always ask, is there anything you don't want to talk about, to talk on, to speak on, whatever? And I ask that question, and then that's their chance. If you don't mention it, when I ask that question, I assume that it is fair game. I got to imagine that folks like LeBron James are giving guys like Pat McAfee, when they do shows like this, even if they are sit-downs like this, they're giving them a list of like, I don't mind talking about Stephen A. Smith. I don't mean talking about Wendy, but I don't want to talk about X or Y, right? Like he probably is going to tell, McAfee, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump, right? Like that would make sense. So it makes sense that this was the most talked about topic in sports talk radio yesterday. What I did not expect was the response from radio show host and television show host that I heard yesterday. We got off the air at 9:56 yesterday. I was in the car at 10:05 a on the way back to the house. I was not done working. I came back up here at noon to do more stuff, but I had to go let the dogs out and all that. And I tuned into Writer Than You with Bill Ryder, which comes on this station right after we get off the air. And he flat out called LeBron James a liar. He's like, he's lying about stuff. He is buddy-buddy with Wendy. And I do think there are some things where words can be a little misconstrued. For instance, like, I do think that, like, LeBron can say, I saw Wendy on a show the other day, this dude acts like we're best friends. And what LeBron is saying is, Wendy's out here effectively using we went to high school together as the entire foundation for this multi-million-dollar career that he's putting together here. He acts like he knows me personally, and he doesn't. That doesn't mean they don't have a relationship. They didn't go to high school together. There was a story going around yesterday. Apparently, part of their growing up together was that Windhorst mom was LeBron's sex education teacher in high school. Like they have connections like that.
I don't know that that's the connection you bring up. That's just...
Why not? Sex education is very important. You should teach the next generation how it works so that they don't screw around, literally and figuratively.
Okay.
It's very important. I am absolutely very pro sex education. Good on Wendy's mom.
Never said I wasn't. It's just that
my mom taught Braun how to do it. What a tag.
Yeah. Wow.
I'd wear that on a t-shirt. So, with all of that being said, Lonzo and I, though we have been butting heads because it turns out he's been secretly plotting against me this entire bracket competition, we actually agreed on this take. The take being a lot of the reaction to this, people calling LeBron a liar, people hating on LeBron James, people getting up in his face.
The haters.
Coming after him. Most of them, in my anecdotal experience over the last 24 hours, most of them are legacy media people. Traditional radio hosts, traditional television studio hosts, traditional broadcasters. Whereas people like me, and I do not, even though this is a traditional format, I don't consider this a traditional radio show by any stretch of the imagination. I haven't in probably 10 years. Traditional hosts have hated on it. New age hosts, I think, are like, this is great. This is awesome. Even if you don't like what he had to say, you got the most unscripted, the most off-the-cuff LeBron James we've ever had. Because I would take you back to the day that LeBron went on ESPN and for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it was, made the announcement that he was taking his talents to South Beach. But see, here's the thing. Go back and watch that. Scripted TV. Why wouldn't it be? Kid was young. LeBron James was young. There was a lot of pressure on this dude. And on top of all that, I think that he knew, I think his PR team at the time knew, this is going to be unpopular with like half or more of the country. So, of course, they scripted that out. This was including his podcast, in my opinion. The most loosey-goosey, unscripted LeBron James we've ever seen. You're not getting that out of him on First Take or Get Up or Breakfast Ball or any of the other shows. Inside, maybe you get a little bit of it on Inside the NBA.
There's a show called Breakfast Ball?
Yeah, it's on FS1. Yeah, it's their morning show.
It is?
Yeah.
That's called that?
Yeah, it's called Breakfast Ball. I kind of like it, to be honest with you.
Who's on that?
I think it's Craig Carton's new show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's the FS1 crew. I think Acho's on it, a couple other. Point here is,
it'll last like 6 months. They'll change it again.
I think the hosts of shows like that get upset because they're never, not only are they not getting these guys anymore, because again, if LeBron's going to do an interview, why would he not want to go to a pod where a guy like McAfee can kind of like react and be a human versus going in there where he knows these people are going to grill.
By the way, I've also heard him on with on the New Heights podcast.
Yeah,
and it
was entertaining as hell for the record.
Very much so, because he felt comfortable with those guys. He knew he wasn't going to get hammered by.
Yeah, they're not going to clip something out of context to make him look awful.
Yeah, they're
ESPN
not.
Absolutely will, right? So all that being said, like of course, and I think you're going to see moving forward, you are going to see more and more those types of athletes going that direction when they want to speak out on whatever, right? They're going to go on pods because they can be a little bit more open, whatever. They're not like, if you agree to go on a pod, especially if it's an up-and-coming pod, they're not going to intentionally take something out of context to make you look bad, blah, 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 blah. Lonzo and I arrived at the same spot, which is the traditional legacy media is infuriated by the fact that a guy like LeBron James, the most notorious and recognizable of all American athletes, decided to go do this shirtless frat boys podcast. And I say that with all due respect in the world, because we are about 10 degrees from Tank Top Thursday making its return here on the show. All right? I'm really excited about it. I love I like a loosey-goosey show. I know ball. I can sit here and break down Alabama's X's and O's and why they were able to get 25 threes knocked down last night in terms of just true basketball. But I also want to goof off and have some fun because it's basketball. It's not that serious, right? So I asked you guys, what's your take on all this? What percentage of traditional versus non-traditional media do you take in? And we have gotten a handful of text so far. Texter says, Rob, Windhorse Mom has got it going on. I don't know. I've not seen a picture of Windhorse Mom. I don't know if Wendy's mom has got it going on or not.
Oh, now I'm tempted. I don't want to, but I'm gonna.
Yep, there it is. I just had to let that one ride for a second. I knew we were going to get there. Texter said, Robbie, you should do some sort of obscure sports segment as a joke. I'm pushing for Cole's Cricket Chat on Wire to Wire. You could do Rob's Rugby Ramble. LOL. That's from Corn Chip. I got two things for you. Number one, there's an international rugby competition with Team USA Rugby coming up here in a couple of days up in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Bank. I believe we are. I don't think we are playing them. I know we are playing. I think we're playing like France or somebody, and the New Zealand All Blacks are going to be there. I know a little bit about rugby because I had a very dear friend of mine, Dan Corrigan, down in Florida. He was a big rugby guy, and like I'd hang out with him when he played rugby. But like I don't really know the sport. Here's what I do know: if I'm not working when that's happening, we're going to Charlotte. Rugby's awesome. Texas said the show started falling apart yesterday when that guy's wife ate cereal like a psycho. I agree.
Wait, the show fell apart?
Oh, it absolutely did.
How could you tell?
I was unhinged after that.
I'm not quite sure how you could tell.
I was unhinged after that. I did not recover for hours after that. Texter said, hashtag Team Lonzo. Cool. Now there's a heel faction within my heel faction. Now there's an NWO wolf pack to my black and white. I don't know how I feel about it. Texter said, good morning. Someone needs a timeout. Don't make me stop this car. That's from Carpool Mom. Carpool Mom, no need to turn the car around. And if there was, my mom's already texted me and told me the same thing. So
why do you immediately think that she's talking about you? Maybe she was talking about
because that text came in during the middle of my rant earlier.
All right.
Yeah. Texter said, Lonzo represents the NWO. No, he doesn't. We are the NWO. He represents the wolf pack. He is the split faction. He is the other faction.
I think we all know who the coolest faction was in that.
Texter said, Alonzo is the greatest. Keep Rob in check. Okay. Michael M. Simpsonville texts the show. He said, my listening habits are you, then the Dan Patrick Show, and I finish with Cole and Diesel. So I would say 2/3 non-traditional, because I don't think Wire to Wire is probably, I'm going to say this, and I mean this with all due respect. I think Wire to Wire is a more traditionally done radio show than ours is, but it is still Cole and Diesel, so it's a little bit out there. So I'm going to say you're like half and half, I think.
So it's a little bit out there.
It's Cole and Diesel. Of course it is.
Okay.
Diesel's going to drop like 4 Lord of the Rings jokes a day.
For some reason, I just heard, I'm a little bit country, and I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Spartanburg J texts the show. He said, I don't watch or listen to any traditional media outside of this station and the McAfee Show. I'm 90% podcast. See, I would even say it's your that number is accurate, because McAfee is the furthest thing from traditional media, and I think we are to some degree as well. If I was legally and corporately permitted, this show would sound a lot more like McAfee's show, and it would have for years now. I just have rules that I'm not allowed to break because I'm not Pat McAfee. By the way, McAfee has the same rules. They just go ahead and put the waiver up on the screen, the advertisement up on the screen, and he can get away with it a little bit more. Plus, he's on non-cable TV, which frees him up.
There are walls here which Rob tries to break through every single day. And someone has to keep those walls
Hey, if you're not moving,
steady.
If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. Corn Chip says 100% terrestrial. I'll catch you wire to wire and another show on another station. I shan't name. You know why, Corn Chip. You respect it. Texter said, one of the reasons that I listen to this show, I feel like it's not traditional, and you guys can talk about whatever you want. It doesn't have segments about brackets and mock drafts, which are boring. See, that's kind of my thing, is like, I think there's room for bracketology, and there's room for stats and figures. There's room for trapezoids of excellence. There's room for stats and numbers. But at the same time, I also understand that, like, the audience for stats and numbers is this, and then the bigger circles in here. And then I also understand that mock drafts are enormous for many of us. I'm a big mock draft guy. I probably looked at like 12 yesterday, because it's almost mock draft time here on the show, 27 days away from the draft. It's about mock draft time here on the show. I understand mock drafts are a huge part of what a lot of people want to hear, but it fits within the bigger circle of the show. To me, it's always been, get to anything and everything. Hit a little bit of anything and everything and have fun doing it. It's just sports. It's not the fun. On top of that, if you're not a mock draft guy, and I'm going to do a mock draft segment, I better find a way to make a mock draft segment entertaining to not mock draft guy. If we're going to talk brackets, I better make a way to make bracket talk entertaining to people who don't fill out brackets. That's why it's non-traditional. I think it works. And I think that's why a lot of the traditional talking heads are real upset about it. Texter said, unpopular opinion, talk more about pro wrestling. Storyline for WrestleMania is the best it's been in years. That's fair. That's fair.
Speaking of more wrestling talk, Monday, 1 p.m., Rob and I interviewing the Icon Sting.
Sting!
Which we will play back on Tuesday. So, I mean, there's that.
We should ask him if it's okay for anybody but Tony Schiavone to introduce him. Friend of the show, Tony Schiavone, sorry. Texter said, you want to kill an afternoon on YouTube, Rob? Watch some 1970s NBA games. They would not let anyone announce it courtside, especially in the regular season. Texter said, you're right. It's a pointless conversation. You could have the same argument about golf with physical fitness and equipment today versus back in the day. Who will ever know? They are all incredible athletes. That's from Pac Fan. Appreciate you, Pac Fan. Good take, and I agree with you entirely. Back after this on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Even though they don't rep the... Oh, I get it now. Wait a minute.
Way to finally
heel turn on us too?
Way to finally take a breath.
Hey, man. I heard the bumper music. I got to get out on time. You can't go late.
You're talking about JD. He's had a podcast for a long time.
No, I know, but did he heel turn on us?
Here's the thing, by the way. If Rob wins, I will be excited for the show. I believe the same if I win. Well, there'll be a less excitement, but it'll still be mentioned. I've been on a show where if I won, you'd never hear about it again. I think we all know what I'm talking about. Hey, look, we got 69 viewers.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Okay, now there's loaded potato bites. Those actually look pretty good.
I'm in.
Okay, you're slicing them into basically thick potato chips. Looks like they put some salt and pepper in there. They're baking a little bit. Now they're frying it. Now they're putting some cheese on it. Is that butter? I don't know. I think that's butter. Jack Sawyer says his first team visit is with the Cincinnati Bengals. I wonder how good that guy's going to do in the NFL. Traditionally, Ohio State has some really good defenders in the league. So,
JD Bentola the whole time. I know he's been big on their show. Again, I knew there was going to be some crossover. I was aware of that.
More so than you know.
Listen, we got two really good shows on this station. Putting the sarcasm aside, we got two really good shows on this station locally. I know that a lot of y'all go back and forth, and I'm 100% go
Rob,
back.
breaking news. Vodka sauce lasagna soup.
Vodka sauce lasagna. Good. Great.
You don't like the fact that it's soup?
I don't know how I feel about the fact soup. What is it like? Liquidy soup?
It's more like it looks more like a stew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there like chunks of pasta in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks like a lot of traditional lasagna ingredients. Let's put some sort of stock in there. I can't see what that is.
So is it just real? Like they have a lot of like marinara in there?
It doesn't. Yes and no, and they put it like a couple pieces of garlic bread on the side.
Sure, gotta have bread with soup. Soup without bread is like cereal without milk. What are we doing?
Well, you can always eat the cereal and then drink a little bit of milk. You could do that. I didn't turn heel on this show. You did yesterday when you went after someone's wife.
The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great One, Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663. 844-FANFONE is the number if you'd like to be a part of the radio program. That is the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. We'd love to have you as a part of the show because of the fact that I was so caught up in the increasing number of mutineers on the show, in the audience. I got caught up in the 8 o'clock hour and just flew right by the audio blitz. So we're going to do that now. Supposed to be at 8 o'clock. But JD and Brian and apparently to some degree Lonzo spun me in a tizzy.
It's still in the 8 o'clock hour. I've always been only about me.
So let's get a couple of clips in here that I have found over the last 24 hours. One of the conversations that has been going on is people asking about this LeBron James interview. Who cares what LeBron has to say? Who cares what LeBron has to say? And I said, the guy's still really, really good. How good? Well, I will allow Kevin O'Connor of the Kevin O'Connor Show on Yahoo Sports to give you a stat that I have double-checked and is correct.
LeBron James, he's had a hell of a week. 3 straight triple-doubles.
LeBron James, with 7 triple-doubles since turning 39 years old, is more triple-doubles than Kawhi Leonard has had in his entire career. Allen Iverson has had in his entire career. Moses Malone's entire career. John Stockton, Derrick Rose, DeMar DeRozan, Tony Parker, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, Manu Ginobili combined.
Wow. Combined. Oh, my God. Wow. Since turning 39 years old. Oh, my God.
He has more triple-doubles than Kawhi, Iverson, Stockton, Moses, D. Rose, DeRozan, Parker, Booker, Donovan, Ant, and Manu. They have 6 combined triple-doubles in their careers, and LeBron has outdone them in just the past few months. I mean, insane productivity from LeBron. There is nobody ever going to be like that one. He is one of one.
Well, he got me like he got his co-host.
It blew me away, right?
It's like combined?
Yeah. That I was listening to that. And the take that I had as I was listening to it, I was like, okay, point guard, shooting guard, point guard. All right, big man. Kawhi, not a shooting guard, not a point guard. Moses Malone.
Does Kawhi still play?
Actually, I think he's banged up. I don't know. Here's what I do know. What I do know is he just gave us a list of great players. Allen Iverson, great players. And again, I listened and I went, okay, a lot of these are small guards. I can't expect Allen Iverson to have a triple-double. That needs 10 boards. AI's not getting you 10 boards. He'll get you 4 or 5, but he's not getting you 10. It makes sense. I was listening to that, and I'm like, okay, small guard, point guard, shooting guard. Like, this isn't that impressive. And then he hit me with all of those names combined, and he did it since he turned 39. That's silly. That's a silly number. That's a number that should not exist. That's a silly number. DK Metcalf, speaking of non-traditional media, was on Marshawn Lynch's podcast. Marshawn, there's this thing going around now where NBA and NFL players are being asked by every other player on a podcast, what was your welcome to the league moment? What was your welcome to the association? Welcome to the Shield? Welcome to professional sports moment? And I want you to listen who gave DK Metcalf, the freak of nature that he is, his welcome to the NFL moment.
People talk about a welcome to the NFL moment. Yeah, so I got one time. Hey, you know, count with them. So it was my rookie year. We playing in Carolina. Okay. Luke Kuechly last year. So I got I think Demo or somebody had to pin the D in. And I got to come around it. Yeah, I got the second level. I see this. I ain't never got. You got body? I came around there. Wrapped around, trying to get set. Yeah. He threw me over the pile. I got up, looking around. No, did somebody see it? Yeah. Everybody see? Luke Kuechly's the only one that actually put hands. Oh, man. And he's the only one I was like, that's all. Yeah.
DK Metcalf said, my rookie year, we're playing at Carolina. I want you to know, DK Metcalf's rookie year, he was listed as 6'4", 235. Okay? 6'4", 235. He said, we had the inside blocking down on the end. My job was to scrape over the top of the defensive end, set a crackback block against Luke Kuechly so that we could run to the outside. So he's lined up on the outside, probably in the slot, either on the slot or on the outside. My job, sprint inside, get to Luke Kuechly, pin him to the inside, right? He said Luke Kuechly put his hands on me and threw me over the pile where the ball carrier was. Threw me over the pile. He said I stood up, looked around like, somebody see that? Somebody see that? There's only, I'll tell you what I immediately thought of. There's one clip that lives rent-free in my head forever. There's one clip of Chad Ochocinco when the Bengals were playing the Ravens, where Chad tries to come across the field and get a crackback block on Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis lays Ochocinco out. And Ocho goes to the sideline, he takes a knee, and the guy's like, yo, you good? And he's like, I thought I was going to hit Ray. He killed me. Like, oh, it was hilarious. Luke Kuechly, I've said this before. Luke Kuechly remains my favorite Carolina Panther. I hated Luke Kuechly as a Saints fan because that dude was just hell on wheels. As a football fan, man, he's great. He's great. Here's a guy Lonzo is a big fan of. Derrick Henry sat down with Ryan Clark on his podcast. This is fun.
He runs up on you. What about when you break and he runs up on you?
In the hole, I win. Huh? And like if we do it quick,
In the hole.
if I'm the eighth man in the box, if
you
I'm
run up on Derrick.
he's tackled 100%.
Ryan.
We're talking about
So you said like if I get the ball and we meet right like
in the
that,
hole. So Derrick Henry in the eye, right? I'm the eighth.
Okay.
Right? He pushing front side, right? He cuts it back and it's just me and him. Right, you can't go nowhere else. Derrick Henry is tackled like 100%.
If I cut back and you right there waiting.
Yes. If it's front side.
And it's me and you.
Yes, Derrick. Who else is in here to play defense under the chin?
You fighting for your life.
I'm not fighting for my life. It's not going to be
I can say like it's an 8-man box and you shoot the gap like we running like downhill. You got down.
No, Derrick,
you right there.
You can see me. That's what I'm talking about. He can see me.
That's what I'm saying. But like if I cut back and it's me and you one-on-one.
So
Derrick, you see him coming and he sees you and y'all look at each other.
He is tackled 10 out of 10 times.
So Channing Crowder says, Ryan Clark, you meet Derrick Henry in the hole. Clark goes, he's tackled. No questions asked. And I got to tell you, when I saw this clip, my immediate reaction was like, okay, Ryan. Like Ryan's having a guy moment, right? A bro moment, that ultimate bro moment. You know, you're at the bar, it's late at night, NBA player does something wild, and you're like, yeah, I could do that. And you look your boys. You're all sitting there having a Jack and Coke, and you're like, I could do that. And all your boys are like, dog, shut up. Shut up, you loser. No, you can't. We all have that moment. I have that moment once a week where I'm like, I bet I could still do that, right? I bet I could still do it. Cole and Diesel went over to the Spartan Burgers Open Media event a couple of days ago. It was happening at 10 or else we would have gone too. And they let Diesel take batting practice all on the field, right? And Diesel's like, yeah, man, like I got a couple. I forgot how good it feels, and it does, to hit a ball clean with a wooden bat where like your hands don't even vibrate. It's just and goes. He's like, I forgot how good that felt. And I'm like, you're not touching me. If I'm on the bump, you're not touching the ball. I'm working it by you every time. Heat sometimes, movement sometimes. Like we had this moment of both of us being like, still got it, right? I'm 40, Diesel's right behind me. We're both like, oh, still got it. That was the NFL version of that. But then
Diesel's older than you.
No, he's not.
He is.
Is he really?
Had this discussion on the air.
It's going to shock me every time. It's going to shock me every time. I thought this was like the NFL version of a dude having that moment. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of do remember Ryan Clark being a guy. And I went and I pulled some Ryan Clark highlights on YouTube. I think he's right. Ryan Clark freaking hit dudes. I think he's right. Now, what he said was, if it's in the hole, not Derrick Henry with a full head of steam in the open field. He said, if I meet you in the hole and it's just me versus you meeting up, same speed, I'm tackling you. And I think he's right. I kind of liked it.
This is like Giannis scoring 250 points. It's the same thing.
I'm telling you, I know you're not a Ryan Clark guy, but go pull some Steelers highlights of Ryan Clark. That dude laid lumber.
Did he ever go up against Derrick Henry?
Well, no. He retired 10 years ago.
Right, so they're different eras. You know, bigger, faster, stronger. You can't go back.
Yeah, but there was nobody that ran him over back in the day. I mean, you're right. You're right. I can't prove it. But Ryan Clark laid some freaking lumber.
And neither can he.
Let's go to, what do we want to get here? Oh, I've been carrying, let me do this one. Seth Rollins this week hosting Good Morning Football. Seth Rollins, for the record, pretty entertaining as a host. Like, pretty entertaining. He's having some fun. He told a story. Well, I'll let him explain how Stone Cold Steve Austin changed his life.
Favorite Stone Cold story that I've ever been a part of. So Stone Cold is the reason I have a daughter. Yeah. All right, flashback. In March 2020, everybody knows COVID shuts down the world, right? Yeah. First show in WWE post-COVID, post-shutdown, 316 Raw. Customary for somebody to drink with Stone Cold in the ring. At the time, hottest thing in professional wrestling, my lovely, incredible wife, the man, Becky Lynch. She happened to break open 1, 2, 3, 4 cold ones with Stone Cold at the end of Raw. And that night she was like, you know what? I think it's time I take some time off to have a baby. Don't know if she'd have made that decision if it wasn't for Stone Cold Steve Austin. So absolutely, hell yeah, slam him back. Thanks, Steve-O, you the man.
So Seth says the man Becky Lynch went brewski for brewski for brewski for brewski with Stone Cold Steve Austin on the 316 episode of Monday Night Raw back in 2020. And then that night got back to the hotel and was like, Seth, wink, wink. Stone Cold Steve Austin is apparently the best wingman in the world. Just the best wingman in the world. My man said, you climb in the ring, you have a couple of beers with Stone Cold. Be careful. You might have a baby. That's pretty spectacular. I love that. All right, we got a couple of minutes left. I want to play one more clip for you. It's a little bit of a, well, no, I'll save that one for later because it actually fits in another discussion. I'll give you this one. Let's go with Derek Thompson. He's a baseball analyst. He was on Bill Simmons' podcast. We've talked a lot about potential rule changes upcoming in Major League Baseball and the NFL, et cetera. And Derek Thompson has an interesting theory on why we're seeing these changes.
I'm fascinated by what I'm going to call the end of the Moneyball era. It's the era of analytics. And analytics proved so powerful, not just for producing wins, but for changing the game itself. And the sports are going to push back against the nerds. And so in baseball, we're already seeing this, right? Oh. We're seeing pitching timers and pitching clocks and bigger bases and fewer defensive shifts. Essentially, we're creating human rules to push back against the mathematical machine. And now in December, and you know much more about this than I do, but Adam Silver on Fox Sports says they're now talking inside the commissioner's office about the fact that there are too many threes, too much homogeneity in offensive strategies. Math fixed sports in a very specific way. And now we need all hands on deck to push back against it. Because especially with baseball and basketball, the ratings are down. They're losing out to a sport in football that's too complex to be optimized. And so I think you're going to have a deeper conversation about how do we make sports weird again and push back against the math nerds.
Really quick, homogeneity.
Good word.
The quality of state of being, all the same or all the same kind. First time I've never heard homogeneity before. I know what homogeneous is, but I've never heard homogeneity.
It's the quality of being homogeneous. It is the adjective to describe something that is homogenized.
That's what the internet was made for, right?
Yes,
there.
It was. Derek Thompson says that you're going to see moving forward. And this comes a day after Adam Silver said, we're not going to make any major changes to the game now, but we are having conversations about rules changes in the National Basketball Association. He says a lot of these sports, he believes, are now tinkering with the rules, not because they think the rules are going to necessarily make the game itself better, but because the math nerds with their calculators and their AI, you know, guys like me, are looking through and they are able to deep dive so many numbers and go do so much analysis now that they are basically able to tinker with the game to create the most likely outcomes in their favor, and it's making it boring. Somebody did a statistical analysis of the amount of three-pointers being shot in the NBA, and what they found out was if you shoot long twos, I'm talking like 3 feet inside of the NBA, inside of the three-point circle, if you take that shooting percentage is offset by the number of threes being made right now. So it does not make sense to shoot long twos anymore. That's why you're seeing guys either hitting bunnies under the basket or shooting threes every time down, because it doesn't numerically, statistically, make sense to shoot long-range jumpers. You might as well take 2 steps back and shoot a 3, because with guys like Wemby hitting 7 a game, you are going to pick up more points by making more threes than you're going to give back by shooting a slightly higher percentage inside the arc. And so the point here is, how do we fix that? And I think that's going to be an interesting conversation about sports moving forward. Speaking of sports, we're going to talk more about them. And also, Lonzo's going to talk about them right now in this Sports Flash.
Yesterday in the NCAA tournament, Florida moved on with an 87-71 win over Maryland, with 6 players scoring in double digits, led by Will Richards' 18 points. Florida shot 50% from the floor, but more impressively, out-rebounded Maryland 42-20. Texas Tech got by Arkansas 85-83 in overtime yesterday. Christian Anderson led Tech with 22 points, while JT Toppin and Darian Williams each had 20. Texas Tech 51 rebounds were the most of any team active last night. The Atlanta Braves opened their season with a 74 loss at San Diego. Chris Sale surrendered 6 hits and 3 earned runs throughout 5 innings, and Rob's already panicking. Tune in this afternoon, 3 to 7 p.m. for Wire to Wire. Cole, Bryson, and Diesel ride shotgun on your drive home and get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, a whole lot of fun, and it's all Wire to Wire.
We all hear the radio ads about the wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the final hour of the day, the final hour of the show, the final hour of the week. It's the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, a casting crew of some very loyal members of the Armada, and some, it turns out, maybe not so much.
By the way, not the final hour of the show. We'll be back Monday.
Of the show this week.
But
as far as we know.
You separated that and made it sound like that. We're not done as far as we know.
The final hour of this show this week.
There's always a chance we could get that, hey, stop over thing. Yeah.
That's also true.
Yeah, you don't want that, especially on a Friday.
See me in my office. I don't feel so well, boss. I got to go home. So I made a declaration earlier this week. And that declaration that I made had to do with baseball. The declaration that I made was that I was going to give the Atlanta Braves 3 weeks.
Alarm.
Before I sounded the alarm.
I just want to see if it still worked, because you may actually, the way you started that, like you're going to do the alarm right now?
No.
You're not going to do that,
No.
right?
I want you to know I hovered the button during the break. But I think I have a very valid reason for concern after just one game. I watched yesterday as the Bravos dropped their opening day contest on the road at San Diego against the Fathers. 7-4 was your final score. Atlanta, on an Austin Riley shot, took a 4-3 lead and then proceeded to go 0 for 16, 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position for the remainder of the contest. On top of that, the real problem that I think, and I called this shot, this was my area of concern for the Atlanta Braves. There were two of them. Number one is, as I have mentioned, I think the Braves are a team with a Powerball ticket. They got a lot of ifs on this team. If Ronnie can come back and be the same player. If Matt Olson and Marcelo Zuna are able to be consistent this year in a way that they just were not last year. If Jurickson Profar's last season was not an anomaly, but he really did figure it out this offseason. If the majority of those things go right, the Braves will be a pretty good team. If all those things go right, the Braves are going to win 100 games. And if a handful of those things go wrong, Olson takes 99 games to get going like he did last year. Ozuna goes back into a slump. Austin Riley can't throw the ball across the field like he used to. Ozzie Albies injuries start to flare up as they have. Ronnie can't be the same guy. If 3 or 4 of those things go bad for Atlanta, they're holes, they. But there was one more concern that I had. And that one more concern that I had was that the Atlanta Braves did nothing to fix up the middle of their pitching staff. They went out and they got some guys that can close for them. They got some guys that stayed on the roster that can close for them. Aaron Bummer had some bright spots last year. Grant Holmes had some good spots last year. The problem is in the relief pitchers, the middle inning guys, the guys where if Chris Sale, at the age Chris Sale is, can only go 5 innings before he gives up 6 hits and 3 earned runs, 1 ball and 7 Ks. You got to have somebody that can get you through 6, somebody that can get you through 7, maybe 8, so that you can send out Bummer and Holmes for their 1 inning of spot duty and get you through 9 without getting wrecked. Now, Atlanta's offense only scored 4 runs. 4 runs is going to win you a bunch of Major League Baseball games, and it's going to lose you a bunch of Major League Baseball games. A lot of that is, as mentioned, going to have to do with the fact that you're going to have to see Profar playing a good outfield. You're going to need Ronnie back there in the outfield. Ozzie's going to have to stay healthy. Austin Riley's hand, wrist is going to have to be good. But you got a good defensive lineup. We've talked about that. 4 runs will win the Braves a lot of games, but it's also going to lose the Braves a lot of games. So the first thing I've said is, I can't have you end a game 0 for 16. I can't have you end a game 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position when the game is a one-run game. Somebody's got to put the ball into play. And it's easier said than done. I'm not a Major League Baseball player, but it is Major League Baseball. You are. You are. I don't need to know how to cook the steak to know that you screwed it up. Okay? So, the other big concern that I had was that I don't think the Braves have a whole heck of a lot in the way of middle relief. Guys that can work innings 5, 6, 7, 8 and get me to my closer in 8 and 9. We don't have that guy. Yesterday, Hector Neris comes to the bump. 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 0 strikeouts. He got chased from the game before he recorded a single out. He was tagged with the loss in this contest. I am going to say respectfully, Hector Neris should not be on this roster, and he should not be in this game. He's just not an MLB caliber pitcher. He's just not. He just doesn't have the stuff. And I say that again, you made the big league. It's commendable. It's respectable. He's had good years before, but he's been in the league for 11 seasons now. He's had years where, in 2016 and 17 with the Phillies, he made appearances in 79 and 74 games. However, he did not achieve a plus 500 record. And again, relief pitchers are rarely tagged with dubs and L's. Rarely. He gets about 7 to 12 decisions in years where he plays 60-plus games. I go back to 2016. He appeared in 79 games, 4-4. In 2017, 74 games, 4-5. In 2018 with the Phillies, 53 games, he was 1-3. In 2019, 68 games with the Phillies, he was 3-6. In 2020 with the Phillies, 24 appearances, 2 wins, 2 losses. 2021, last year with the Phillies, 74 games played, he was 4-7. He got to the Astros. Actually looked a little better. 70 appearances, 6-4 in 2022. In 23, 71 appearances, he was 6-3. In 2024, he moved to Chicago, 46 games, 8-4. In 2024, he went back to Houston, but he appeared in only 16 games. He was 2-1. This year with Atlanta, 1 game, 1 loss. So, the guy's been in the league 11 years. He has historically been a guy that's 42, 43% winner. He's had a couple of winning years. More often than not, he's 500 or worse. He gives up runs in bad spots. He's had ERAs in the upper 4s, in the upper 5s. Last year with Houston, an ERA of 4.7, a whip up over 1.4. It's not great. It's not great. And the problem that the Braves are going to bump into is that they've done, I think, a commendable job of building a lineup from the inside. They've done a commendable job of leaning on some young talent, but also bringing in some vets. They've done a commendable job of home growing. So you got guys like Ronnie and Ozzie that have been there, that are part of the squad, have been for a while now, want to be there, love to be there, etc. You've got some guys like Jurickson Profar that you went out and spent $42 million for a 3-year deal on. That's commendable. All of these things are wonderful. The problem is the Braves have back-to-back years now. Back-to-back years. We're 1 game in. Maybe relax a little bit, me. The Braves last year.
Relax. Rob.
I told you, I'm 3 weeks. I'm going to do my best.
Should I go ahead and get ready to push the button for real?
No.
Okay.
No, I said 3 weeks. I'm going to do my darndest to get to 3 weeks.
181 games left, right?
161 games left.
Well, I was thinking playoffs.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, I mean, we may not make the playoffs. We might. We might not. Who knows? It's baseball. It's weird. The issue is that yesterday, there are 2 things that I said coming into this year were going to be a problem. Number 1 was injuries or anything else that made on paper, very good offense not good. And number 2, middle inning pitching. The inability to send somebody out to the bump when you're sitting on a 4-1, 4-2 lead and know that we're getting to the closer still up. We've earned 4. We're going to get up to our closers still in charge. Both of those things caused an L yesterday. The Braves offense through the first 5 innings was pretty good. The Braves offense through the first 5 innings, good spot to be in. They were up 4-1 at the end of the third. They were up 5-1 at the end of the fourth. They did not score another run. They went 0 for 16, 0-7 with runners in scoring position. But again, they built a 4-1 lead at that point. If you have built a 4-1 lead at that point, if you are in a good spot there, to me, after Riley's home run, I got to feel good that you can win this game. 4th inning, Austin Riley goes yard. It's 4-3. You got a 1-run lead, and then you get to the 7th. You give up 4 runs in that spot. You lose the game. I can't say, obviously, that the reason that the Bravos bats went cold yesterday was because of injuries. It's not. It was day one. It was game one. I mean, there are, like, who knows if that game's any different if Ronald Acuna's in the game instead of Jerry Kelenic, right? Kelenic's a platoon guy. He's a guy you send out there so Ronnie can take a break, so Profar can take a break. He's not a guy I need out starting in right field or center field more than once a week. But you had to throw him out there yesterday. Kelenic goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout. The interesting thing is the top 6 batters in the rotation, 1 through 6, Profar, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, Albies, and Harris. And then the guy in the 8-hole, Orlando Arcia, all had a hit. You had 7 hits. It's not bad. It's not bad. But all the hits were early. If you build up that lead, Riley goes yard, you're inside of the last 4 innings of play up a run. I can't have you go 0-16, 0-7 RISP with the game on the line. This is what the Braves were last year for a good chunk of the season. And because this is what the Braves were last year for a good chunk of the season, by the time they got to the end of the season, they ended up not winning the division. They ended up having to go on the road. They ended up having to play away. They ended up getting themselves into a world of hurt. Now, Lonzo and I have had this conversation every year for as long as I have worked here. Because you lose a game like this, and you have Zoe go, Rob, you got 161 more games. And on this side, that is correct. That is correct. If the Braves go win 100 out of 161, that's great. There's still time to be great. Here's the other problem. The Phillies are a good baseball team. The Phillies are going to be in the back pocket of the Atlanta Braves. If not, out front. They currently lead the division by 1 game, but they lead the division now. And so the problem is, if this season comes down to a 1-game difference between the Braves winning the NL East and the Braves having to play on the road in the wild card round, it is games like yesterday that you go, we just needed 1 more of those. Just 1 more of those. We need 1 more game where Austin Riley goes yad, gives you a 1-run lead, and the Padres aren't hitting the ball all that well. I mean, they were up 3-1 at one point. You claw back, you take a 4-3 lead, all the momos on your side, and then you give it back because you don't have pitchers in the middle innings that can play for you and consistently keep leads. And because your bats just find more and more impressive ways to go cold when you need them the most. So on one hand, as I mentioned yesterday, I will not hit the panic button until 3 weeks in. If these things are still happening 3 weeks from now, you would better believe I will be ready and prepared to slam the panic button like it owes me money. I'm going to give it 3 weeks. What I will say is this. Mark this down at 9:14 a.m. on March 28th. If we get to September, early September, and the Braves are hanging out 1-2 games behind the Phillies, and the Braves end up in the wild card, and the Braves end up having to go on the road and not getting to play at Truist Park in the postseason again, I am going to go. Do you guys remember back on March 28th, 2025, the day after they lost the opening day game on the road at San Diego, a game that they led 4-3 in the 5th, a game that you had 2 big-time shots, a game that your bats were alive early, and then they stopped, a game where your pitching from Chris Sale was absolutely good enough to win, but then you went to a guy who does not need to be in that position in Hector Neris, and he gave up 3 hits and 3 runs without recording a single out, which means when you finally yanked him out of the game, you still had to go get 3 more outs? You remember that? Because if you'd have won that game, you'd be playing at Truist Park in round 1. But you didn't win that game. And now you got to go on the road, and you lost the division again. So again, I'm not saying that I am prognosticating that to happen. We have played 1 baseball game. What I'm saying is what happened yesterday is exactly the type of losses that Atlanta stacked up last year for no good reason, because they just would not or could not figure it out, that cost them the division for the first time in a long time and cost them, I think, any opportunity for optimism in the postseason. We've played 1 game. I got 3 weeks. 3 weeks, these things are still happening. The button gets pushed. I'm Rob Brown. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Give me 30 seconds, guys. I'll be right back. I got to make a phone call. Stay right there for me. Joseph, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you came by. Thanks for showing up. Be right back. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. We have a shorter segment here. And this was about the time yesterday that we had a conversation that took over the end of the show, commandeered the end of the show. So I would like to revisit it very briefly. Yesterday.
Wait, are you going to issue an apology?
No. No, I'm not.
You don't have something written out?
No.
Oh, this is going to come straight from the heart.
There is no apology incoming at all.
Oh, man.
But I will address it.
The chance to apologize and you're passing it up.
Correct, because I have no reason to apologize. I apologize when apologies are deserved and necessary. I'm not above apologizing when apologies are earned. I have said nothing wrong. In fact, quite the opposite. I feel like I should be apologized to. Yesterday.
I feel like you should be saying Rob Brown said nothing wrong, so Rob Brown is not going to apologize.
Yesterday on the Audio Blitz at 8 o'clock, we played you a soundbite from the New Heights podcast hosted by Travis and Jason Kelsey. The portion of the show we played you a clip from was a segment that they do on their podcast called #NoDumbQuestions, where people effectively send Jason and Travis just weird life questions for them to give their perspective on. One listener of the show, one friend of the show, what do they call themselves? 92%ers, I believe.
That would be correct.
Sent them a question that said, when you are eating a bowl of milk and cereal, do you pour the cereal in and then the milk, or the milk in and then the cereal? There have been only two things that Lonzo and I have agreed on this week. One of them is that you pour the cereal in and then you put the milk on top of it. However, I did say, as much as I don't agree and as much as I feel like it goes against everything deeply embedded in our human DNA, I can understand, though I disagree with, people who go milk and then cereal. Jason Kelsey said that his wife does go milk and then cereal. And some of you made some good arguments as to why you go the other way around. I wasn't upset about that. I disagree with you. It's not my style, but I wasn't upset about it. Well, friend of the show, friend of mine, the peer on the show, colleague on the station, Alex Guest, sent a text to the text line. Now, I did not know that it was Alex when he texted the text line.
He's my favorite part of Saturday Morning Scramble.
Love Alex. He's good people. Alex texted the show on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. I did not know it was Alex when I read the text. But Alex texted the show and said that his wife will take a spoonful of cereal, insert it into her mouth hole, then will pick up a glass of milk and take a drink of milk, allowing the milk and the cereal to mix inside of her mouth before she consumes the milk and the cereal. To which I said to a texter I did not know was Alex Guest, that is psychopathic behavior. I don't understand it, and I don't think there is a way to understand it. Now, Alex then texted me and said, hey, bud, that was me. And at the time, in that moment, I'm like, oh, no, I just ruined a friendship. But then Alex gave me full permission to have the conversation. He said she knows it's weird, but she's one of those people that hates foods touching. Every time I see her eating cereal, I call her out on it, talk about it. If she were awake right now, I'd tell her to call in and explain herself. Well, I responded to Alex again after the show, and I said, hey, bud, if I get fired today, it is all your fault. You're aware of that, right? And I sent it as a joke, mostly. And he wrote back and said, dude, I died laughing at the entire segment. Have a day, Rob Brown. And then he began sending me screen caps of the conversation about our segment that he had with Mrs. Alex Guest. I will give you a dramatic reading of their conversation.
Yeah, you probably should quit showing that to the screen.
Oh, there's no number on it. It's just a screen cap of the text. Alex said, Rob did a whole segment about you and your cereal on the radio. Go watch. It was the end of the 8:20 segment going into the break in the entire 8:40 segment. She responded, dear Lord, ha, ha, ha. Did Rob know it was you that texted that? Then she texted back and said, I just got to the commercial. Like, I'm still in the very front end of it where he said, I'm a psychopath. Ha ha. And she separated Zoe the ha and the second ha. which is what you do when you are sarcastically laughing to let someone know that you are not laughing. I read that and I'm like, uh-oh. He responded and said, at that point in time, he did not refer to me, but I texted him personally during the break. She responded, poor Lonzo, trying to have my back, not knowing that I could handle this, and I find it absolutely hilarious. Like, I would have been disappointed had this whole conversation been happening and it not be centered around the fact that they know me. He said, LOL, right? She said, it wouldn't have been worth listening to had it not been calling me out. By the way, love that level of ego right there. I respect the hell out of that. If you don't think I go back and listen to segments on other people's show because somebody texted me and go, Colin and Diesel are talking about you right now, oh, I'm immediately turning in. Are you kidding me? I get it, is all I'm saying. She said, this is pure glory right now, and I've only listened to like 5 minutes after the break. Fries get cold when you dump them out. I am Team Rob's wife. I was referring to the fact that when the wife and I go out and we get fast food, I am the dude that unwraps the burger wrapper onto the tray and then dumps my carton of fries onto that and eats them straight out of a pile. My wife, on the other hand, sets the container up. She will get a larger size of fry than she wants if the larger container is square so it can stand up so that she doesn't have to tilt her fries. That's what she's referring to. She said, the rationale is very simple. I don't like soggy cereal, and the milk gets tainted by the cereal and becomes like sweet and weird. By keeping them separate, both the cereal and milk keep their God-given states. Alex Guest responded with 2 laughing face emojis, to which she responded, and I quote, I mean, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. The milk will steal all the good stuff. Okay. The crackhead that just compared this to mac and cheese. Come on, mac and cheese. Both words are in the name of the food. All right, I have a couple of responses here, Mrs. Alex Guest. Let me start with this. We are having a conversation about what? Milk and cereal. You know, like mac and cheese or peanut butter and jelly. We say both things because they are to be consumed together. Number 2, you said you don't like soggy cereal. And this is where I responded yesterday and will again today. I don't know how long you people take to eat a bowl of cereal, but if it takes you so long that your Cinnamon Toast Crunch at the bottom gets soggy,
you know,
take the time to make yourself a real breakfast.
That part is disturbing. But again, I've had conversations with a couple other people because this left our collective circle and went to other circles.
I was getting texted about this the rest of the day.
Yeah, and had someone else talk to me, as I pointed out earlier, who completely understood, and I understand too. I would never do this, but I understand her point of view. That's all I'm saying. I get what she's saying, and it makes sense. I still will never do it, but still I get it.
So, number 1.
And if my wife did it, I'd make fun of her for doing it too.
Correct.
I would.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So, number 1, you said, well, it's not like mac and cheese. You say both of the words in that dish. You do indeed. You know what else you say? Milk and cereal. Milk and cereal. And if you don't say milk and cereal, the assumption is milk and cereal, right? The assumption is that's like saying, I don't think have to say, can I get some spaghetti and meat sauce?
By the way,
it's assumed those things are coming together.
It is assumed, but is there anyone alive who hasn't just ate cereal without milk?
I'm sure there's not.
Have you?
Yes.
Because you kind of weird
without
when it comes
a
to some
doubt.
things. Okay, all right.
But
I mean, because those Lucky Charms, you're in there going, you know what? I could go with some marshmallows right now and need no milk, and you just dig.
Correct. What are you eating at that point? Marshmallows.
Yeah, but
not cereal.
But regular marshmallows and those marshmallows, two totally
I agree with
different
you. My point is, you're not eating cereal. You're eating marshmallows. Now, here's my second thing. She says.
By the way, Cookie Crisp, just eating a bunch of little cookies. If you just stop putting milk in it.
But you're eating cookies. Cookie Crisp aren't cereal. They're just little cookies. Which, don't get me wrong, awesome. Big fan of whoever said, what if we took cookies and we made them real little and put them in a box with a cartoon dog on it? That person deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. That's a genius move. Young Rob Brown is very grateful to you. I was a big fan of the Cookie Crisp. All right? Big fan. So.
That was a commercial for
yes, it was. Way back in the day. You youngsters.
It was.
There was a dog and he howled Cookie Crisp. It was great.
It was a very good depiction.
Thank you very much.
It sounded just like the guy.
So, here's the second thing. You said, oh, the milk steals all the good stuff. I'm sorry. What do you eat when you put the spoon in the bowl and you raise it up and you put it in your mouth hole? The milk.
Do you have to
It's
call it a
still
mouth
there.
hole? I mean, it's very. I mean, it's just. Why
Your
don't you
mouth
just say
orifice.
Just say mouth.
When
It's
you-
implied that the mouth. I mean, everyone knows a mouth has a hole in it. You don't have to.
When you eat, when you take your spoon, you dip it into your breakfast and you bring it to your orifice and you consume it. What are you getting?
How could you possibly make it worse than you did?
It felt like a personal challenge, honestly. It's cereal and milk. And so you are still getting the good stuff. It's still there. That argument doesn't hold water. It is still there. And as far as the rest of it, I don't like soggy cereal and the milk gets tainted by the cereal and becomes like sweet and weird. Well, what is happening when you put it into your face orifice that prevents that from happening? Is it not still the exact same thing? Is the amount of time that the cereal and the milk intermingle somehow impacting the amount of sweet that is on the cereal versus the amount of sweet that is in the milk? No. What are we talking about here? I was getting text about this the rest of the day for hours after this show was over. And what I got was one person and I did not count, top of my head, I would estimate I received 20 to 23 texts about this over the course of the rest of the day. Because, we get a lot of people who listen live, but they're at work, so they text on lunch break or whatever. I got a bunch of friends that can't listen in the morning, but they go back and they download it and they listen to the podcast later in the day when they're done with work and they're driving home or whatever. I got 20 to 23 texts about this yesterday. One person in that entire group said, Rob, that actually makes sense to me. One person. So now, of all of the people that I know, and let's be real, I'm sure the number is higher. But of all the people that I now know out of my entire circle of people, I know 2 people who do this. Well, scratch that. The other person didn't say they do it. They just said they understand it. So now, if I just go with people who understand it, in my entire circle of people, I know 4. Mrs. Alex, my buddy who texted me yesterday, Captain America Chris Evans down the hall, and the great one. All said they understand it. Only one of them does it that I am aware of. There may be 2, but only one does it that I'm aware of. I have nothing.
Listen, this is one of those things where it's appalling to you and you can't believe that anyone would do this. Aren't you tempted to try it? Just to prove your point?
No, not at all. There are
is
some
it
things.
Out of fear that maybe you would like it?
No.
Or is it just, I like being right. So I don't really eat cereal
Here's
anymore.
the thing.
But if I did, I would definitely try it.
There are some things I don't need to do to know that I'm right. I don't need to stick my hand in a meat grinder to know that it's probably going to hurt.
There we go. Comparisons that are just so extreme.
Because it is that obvious to me.
It's not that extreme.
It is that obvious to me. It is obvious to me that that's a poor, inefficient, bad way to eat a cereal. It is the exact same as I don't need to eat a well-done steak to know that that's a bad way to cook a steak. That's the wrong way to cook a steak.
And I know someone who has the exact opposite opinion of that.
And they
you know what? I look
are
at both.
wrong.
No, I don't look at either of you and say you're wrong.
Deadly wrong.
It's your opinion.
Wasting perfectly good steaks. Wrong. All right, had to get that out. That has been since Mr. Guest texted me yesterday.
Mr.
And let me know that his wife, Mrs. Guest, was that kind of person. It has been hanging on me. Hey, real quick, bracket competition update. I don't know what's happening anymore. Now, unlike earlier when Smith had 67's picks, were solo number 1 atop the leaderboard with 700 points. Now we have a 2-way tie at 700 points for the number 1 position on the leading board. And the new number 1, tied with Smith at 67, is the Armada captain, TRBS. I don't know who it is. I don't know where they came from. They were not there earlier, and now they are. But there's a new TRBS atop the board.
If you go back up in the stream
I saw
a little
somebody
bit,
pointed out that it happened.
Yeah.
That's why I went and
that
checked.
Somebody is probably someone who you thought dropped a long ways and didn't.
But then the bracket still would have shown up at the top of the board even if they changed their name. There was not a bracket tied for first with Houston winning the Natty atop the leaderboard 40 minutes ago when we
So you're
checked.
saying this bracket is bogus?
I'm saying I don't know what the hell's going on, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Rob Alonso, over to you, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
Put on your Sherlock cap.
Ruh-roh.
He's going to get his magnifying glass. Should have put some English on it.
I could. It's like they're all the way under the table.
Yeah, I know. I saw
There was no room. It's a work, brother. Everything's a work, James.
Steven keeps saying he changed his name again. And if that's Steven, what he's saying is you can't take the captains. You can't stop him from being captain.
I got to tell you, the only thing worse than a turncoat is somebody who bounces back and forth between the two teams. I can't trust that. I can't trust you if you left my team and then 2 days later you come back to it. How am I supposed to trust you're not going to stab me in the back again?
I don't consider it a stabbing in the back. When you win, declare your victory and don't pick either side. Pick your own. Because none of us could beat you. Except for maybe Smithhead. Although they both have different champions. So one or the other would win if they stayed even. Rob and I have the same Final Four.
You cannot change your champion. I don't know how the bracket works as far as...
I didn't think you could change anything.
Well, I mean, as far as like jumping into and out of a competition. Like, I know you can leave the competition, but I didn't know that you could turn around and re-enter the competition.
So you added a different bracket, Steven?
Yeah, did you add another bracket? I don't understand what's happening.
Just because it kind of said in the rules, although it's probably what Cole wrote up there, you can only enter once. That doesn't mean, I just took that as you were only capable of entering one.
But see, like I said, my problem here is you can fill out as many brackets as you want on ESPN. And so my thought becomes, why not fill out 65 different brackets? And then after 3 rounds, just pick whatever one's the best.
This whole thing will only let you do 15. I know that for sure. Because it says in the beginning,
15 brackets
you can
with
fill out
15
15
different champs and submit whichever one's doing the best. Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I guess that is one way to game the system. You do 15, whichever one's doing the best, you put that, you join the group and take the one that's doing bad out of the group and then change the name. You could also change it to the same exact name. It is a way to game the system. Is this poor planning by the people who put it together? I mean, we hijacked their bracket. Do we expect them to have done better? Should we blame them? Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? Okay, hang on. Steven, he's going to explain. You need to be nice. You're not going to listen to me.
He has his opportunity to explain.
I mean, I'm just saying. Hey, Diesel jumped up a bunch too, James. I just believed everybody was on the up and up. I'm not saying he not.
I am, if nothing else, a Commodore who believes in compassion, patience, tolerance, understanding. I believe that in order for the Armada to survive and thrive, those within it must be allowed to speak their mind, must be allowed to talk openly in order to create a discussion amongst the captains and the Commodore. So, with that being said, Steven is on the phone line. Now, if you have missed the drama of our bracket contest, you will know that Steven, as well as Brian, has flipped his bracket between Team The Rob Brown Show and Team Wire to Wire, Team Armada and Team Tolos. And I'm just going to say, Steven, and then I'm just going to step back from the microphone and let you explain yourself, that you were awarded captaincy in the Armada and you turncoated me. Now you're saying you're back. I am going to allow you the opportunity to speak yourself, but please know, I will be passing judgment when you are done.
All right, guys. So, little update. So, when the bracket started, the mysterious bracket that just appeared out of nowhere was one of my brackets that I brought in out of nowhere. And there's a little loophole in the system, and I exposed that loophole to where you can create up to 25 brackets. That's the accurate number. And from those 25 brackets, you can drop out of a group or join a group with any of those brackets, but only one of those brackets can enter the group at a time. So what I did is I created all 25, and then yesterday I knew that bracket was going down because I knew I had some picks that weren't going to, and so I did the math. And then I was like, okay, well, that one goes down. I've got this one that can come up. And so I'm going to do a heel turn because I knew that the guys on the other show don't care about wrestling. So the whole time it was a plan to do a double heel turn and to come back as the Armada captain and to be in first place and put the Rob Brown Show at the top again.
All right. I got.
So it was a troll. I was trolling the bracket. And so I'm going to expose myself and say that I was trolling just to expose that there was a flaw in the system or a glitch in the matrix.
So I want to start with one thing first and foremost, Steven. What I said last Friday when this happened was correct. My theory was correct, that you can game the system by creating a bunch of brackets and then just submitting whichever one is the best. Every round, whatever one has the most points, just take one out, put one in. And I'm going to tell you right now, I appreciate exposing the loophole. I'm going to let you off the hook right now if for one reason and one reason alone, which is now I know from this point forward, every year when we do these bracket competitions, the bracket group gets locked the minute the first game gets live. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, because I can't have all this happening. And you know, now in fairness, you could have just tweeted me and been like, hey, Rob, here's what's happening. You decided that you needed to make a display out of it. But as somebody who entertains...
You don't ever read your text or anything else. You barely read what I'm commenting on there.
Yeah, he's right. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Wait. Do you think for a second, had you popped into the chat what was happening here when I was on the air floating conspiracy theories? That made me felt like I was losing my bleeping mind, Steven. I'm like, there's no way that would make any sense.
The best heel turns nobody knows coming.
I don't disagree.
The best. John Cena, that's why I referenced him the other day, just in my comments earlier. And that's why I made the comment about Steen coming in with the bat later in the day, because I knew I was putting this bracket back in.
Okay.
So it was the whole time, it was a troll of wire to wire as an Armada, as an Armada captain coming back in to take over the bracket.
I am going to, Steven. I am going to, because you have done two things. Number one, you have exposed a flaw in the system. And I do believe that the best way to get people to change a system is not to tell them that the system is exploitable. The best way to get people to change is to have them directly impacted by the problem, right? Like we see this all the time. If you want someone to change their opinion, you can't just say, here's the opinion that is flawed and here are the reasons why. You have to actually exploit that and impact them directly so they go, oh, it actually hurts when this system exploits me. Now I will be a champion, a voice of change. So I respect you for that. Number two, I am going to, because again, to me, the Armada relies, it floats on trust and cooperation, Stephen. It does. I am going to trust that you were telling me the truth, and the whole point of this was just to repeatedly bump Cole and Diesel further down in their own bracket competition and exploiting a game in the system in order to be able to do that. I am going to restore your captaincy in the Armada for the time being. Here's what I'm going to say. You have gamed the system. You have now re-entered a bracket at number 1. That bracket must ride until the end of this competition.
Got it. I won't change it again. I was only trying to troll Diesel and Cole, and that's the whole reason for all of these moves and different things. That was the reason for the mysterious bracket to come up, because I knew I had 25, but I didn't want to. I wanted it to ride all the way to the end.
All right. See, that's the thing. I was going to say, is this reveal too soon?
It is. I knew it would be, but I didn't want Rob to, fall over and croak on us today after
he is having a week, Stephen. You've seen
I am having a week.
He is. So.
I know.
I am having a week.
I went ahead and outed myself, and I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm the guy.
Very good, Stephen. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, buddy. You know what? I can't. I want to be a little mad at him, Lonzo, but I can't because that's two very good reasons to do what he did.
I think
it's commendable.
It's well thought out. It's strategy. It's 4D chess. Whatever you want to talk about. Way to go, Stephen.
And again, I am floating this on trust of a captain of the Armada. I'm floating this on the trust that he is telling me 100% the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me, Rob.
But here's the problem with the quick reveal, and I understand why you had to do it because of the ledge that you were on. Other people can try to exploit this now, and there's still a week left or however long we have left.
Yeah.
And this could be exploited by other people who filled out multiple brackets.
It can, and it basically puts me in a spot where I have two options here. Option number 1 is that when the show concludes, I can go sit in the Fortress of Nerditude and I can screenshot 200 brackets. And I would just have all of your brackets screenshotted in my laptop, and I can go back and double check and verify. I can go screenshot every bracket. Or number 2 is I go, we just let them ride, let the chips fall, and at the end of the day, we just see what it shapes up to look like. And we say we're relying on trust of both the Armadas and the Tolos to make this happen.
But in the end, Rob, as I pointed out earlier, this ain't our game. This is not our responsibility to arbiter or to monitor to make sure things are on the up and up. It's on wire to wire. They're the ones who created it. We just jumped in there. So I mean, I'm just saying.
I look at it, great one. I look at it as the 4 hours that we are on the radio today, today and this and every weekday from 6 till 10 a.m. Are they my hours? No, they're the Fan Upstate hours. Are they my hours? No, they're Odyssey hours. But when we step in here and it is time to put faces to windscreens and give the people what they want, are they my 4 hours? No. But you're damn right they are. This is our game. We are the game.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow that. That was good. I mean, right down to your mannerisms, your pointing, everything.
I can cut some damn promos.
That was must watch, must see, must listen. All right, the first thing that's texting is Mandy Rose.
Is it because of what we talked about yesterday, or
yeah, she's everywhere now, being interviewed, all kinds of things.
Yeah, that checks out. So we had Vakor win the Women's NXT Championship and the North American Championship. She is a 2-belt champion, and WWE claimed that she was the first to defend and successfully defend both belts, as I pointed out yesterday. No, she's not. Mandy Rose was, but I also understand why though I think it's silly, whatever. I understand why they kind of try to distance themselves from Mandy Rose. It makes sense. But, of course, anybody who's had a TV and eyeballs for the past 5 years knows exactly, well, actually, probably been longer than that at this point, but last handful of years knows exactly what happened, and now she's the hottest guest in wrestling entertainment. I mean that both ways.
Well, and who knows, maybe this leads to her getting back into it under the new regime.
She would have to stop doing what she's doing, and from what I understand, she is making hundreds of thousands of dollars like a month to do what she is doing. So
he
doubt
only
it.
knows because he was told. You know, he didn't check out the reason on his own.
That is correct. I want you to know I will never pay for that.
I will tell you that Mandy Rose was an enjoyable interview.
I believe it.
Yeah.
She seems legitimately cool.
Yeah, she was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, the next thing that's axing is Kirk Cousins.
Okay, so this is very interesting. There is a rumor going around right now.
There's pictures.
Oh no. Okay. There's a rumor going around right now that Kirk Cousins has effectively decided that he's not going to play next year for the Atlanta Falcons.
All right.
And has not showed up, but also he is featured as being starred in Quarterback Season 2 on Netflix. So what do we have?
We have pictures of Kirk Cousins in a Chipotle
In Pittsburgh.
Cleveland.
You know what? I don't hate that for Seatown. I don't hate that for Cleveland. The only thing that here's why this matters. Not because of Kirk Cousins, not because of Cleveland. The reason it matters is it takes a potential quarterback drafter off the board. That's bad for Carolina. Bad for Carolina. You want Cleveland to draft a quarterback. You want Tennessee or somebody. You want as many people drafting quarterbacks ahead of you as you can get so that the most position players drop to you at 8. If Cleveland goes, we'd rather have Kirk Cousins start than draft Ward or Sanders. That means those guys fall down further. And once you get to like 6, you're kind of at a list of teams that don't really need a quarterback, which means they're taking position players. You don't want this to happen, Panther fans.
Well, there'll be a reshuffling if they decide that's not what they're that's the direction they're going to go, and who moves into that spot. It's probably be just one of the 5 or 6 in there that need a quarterback, right? So how does it change the order? You're just saying that they'll go for a different position. Okay. All right. The next thing that's axing, I got there. It just took me a second. The next thing that's axing is Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey is axing because last night the Chicago Bulls were taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers were dominant for about 3.5 quarters, and then they had an absolute meltdown down the stretch that allowed the Bulls to come back from down, they were down like 17 in that game. And then Josh Giddey hit a 65-ish footer from the far side of the logo that banked home and gave the Bulls a 1-point lead and the dub over the LA Lakers. Best thing about it, go find some of the reaction pictures of the Lakers on the court after that shot dropped. Like I don't want to enjoy the misery of others. I did. And I'm not a Laker guy. I'm a Luka guy. I'm a LeBron guy. I'm not a Laker guy.
All right.
But damn, it was entertaining.
All right. The last thing that's axing is Xbox Game Pass.
If I gave you 50 shots, could you hit a half quarter? 50 shots. Could you hit a half quarter?
No.
I think I could.
No, I don't think I could.
I think I could. We may have to put this to the test. What is it? What's the last one?
Game Pass.
Game Pass. Last night, College Football 2025 showed up on Game Pass, which is good because like a week ago, I was telling Lonzo I was debating if I was going to drop $55 to buy that game or not. Now it's just free. Rob Brown's road to the Heisman starts this weekend, people. Hey, Greenville Triumph at home tomorrow night at Paladin Stadium. I'll see you there. Greenville Swamp Rabbits tonight at the Well. It's hockey and hops. I'll see you there Sunday. I won't see you anywhere because I'm going to sit on my couch with no pants on and watch basketball. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Don't drink and drive. I will punch you in the face. We'll see you back here on Monday to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later.
The vibes are unmatched. Slay.
Yes, Schadenfreude is exactly the correct word.
Slay.
Slay.
I've just been given an opportunity for an interview tomorrow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who you got? Who you got?
It's no one you would know.
Oh, okay.
Voiceover guy.
Aha.
But
when you get a voiceover guy, do you ask them to do stuff on the show in voice?
I've only had the opportunity to do that once, and it was during COVID, and it was my first interview ever without someone else there with me. I mean, Cameron helped me, but he was at home.
Yeah.
It was just me and him, and so I was just trying to get through the interview.
Sure.
But that's when I was interviewing the voice of Majin Buu and Hercule from Dragon Ball, and just in the last second before I got started, I went into a whole thing where I said, I collect this, but I'm not a fanboy, I'm a fan. And then I completely went with it.
You can be both, right?
Yeah, no. I just built this thing. And then when I saw them the next day and got autographs, not a fanboy, but a fan, it stuck with them. So, I mean, so it worked. So I could not think of that sort of thing because I was scared out of my mind. And so now this will be different because this will be outside the show. So I definitely can probably get him, and he does voices for two of my favorite animes of all time. So
I am hoping that, but I've said this before, Rob Paulson's the greatest voice actor since Mel Blanc. I had years and years and years ago, Rob Paulson. Rob Paulson did the voices of, like, if you watch 1990s Saturday morning cartoons, Rob Paulson did voices, you know. He was Michelangelo and Donatello on the Ninja Turtles. He was like 7 characters on the Animaniacs. Like, he's done a lot. He's been in every superhero cartoon as a different voice. Like, he's a very famous voice actor. And so a handful of years ago down in Destin, they did the Animaniacs in concert, where him and all the other voice actors from the Animaniacs sang Animaniacs songs with a live symphony orchestra. It was wildly entertaining. So he came out after the concert. He's very nice. He just meets and greets for as long as people want to meet him and greet him. And I said, man, you know, I appreciate you. Like, you helped raise me in a weird way. And he was like, I love hearing that. It's my favorite thing. And I said, can I ask you a weird favor? And he was like, yeah, we'll take a selfie. And I was like, no, actually, could I get you to record my voicemail as Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles? And he was like, absolutely. So for about 2 years, if you called Rob Brown's phone, I didn't care if it was unprofessional. You got Michelangelo from the OG animated Ninja Turtles telling you to leave a message for Rob and how tubular it was that you called. So I lost that phone. I lost my voicemail message, and now I'm looking for another one. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be willing to pay for a meet and greet to get Tara Strong.
Tara Strong, yeah.
To record my voicemail from Harley Quinn. Because Harley Quinn and Tara Strong's version of Harley Quinn, I think I can trace it to being the origin of my loving crazy people, crazy women. So I may have if you call me next week, or excuse me, the week after South Carolina Comic-Con, you may have Harley Quinn telling you to leave a message pudding on my phone for me. I'm pretty excited about it. All right, dudes and dudettes, I got a jet. We have many, many, many things to do before I get to call it a day. Come to the hockey game tonight. Tell me if you do. Come to the soccer game tomorrow. Tell me if you do. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Goodbye.